Chapter 402. A week ago, Full House of Romance premiered in Beijing and Zhejiang satellite TV. 6 episodes were broadcast for 3 days in a row, and the ratings jumped from 113% to 175%. The increase was amazing, and it also caused a lot of response among the audience. This urban emotional TV series took the route of comedy and romance. In Lu Chen's dream world, the original work opened the prelude to the transformation from tragedy to comedy of Korean TV series. It was a milestone work of Korean TV series. The original work's premiere in South Korea broke through 34% of the ratings. The average rating of the whole series was 31.9%, and the highest rating reached 47%. After that, it was broadcast in more than 13 countries such as China, the United States, and Japan, and achieved good results. Now, Lu Chen has remade the adaptation, enriching the plot and characters, and even deepening and modifying the characters of the male and female protagonists, completely making up for the defects of the original work, and the degree of excitement is much better than the original work. So Lu Chen confidently shouted the words, "Flat 3 high 4." And the performance of Full House of Romance did not disappoint him. In just 6 episodes, it overturned Shonen TV's Sea of Love, showing an unparalleled momentum. On July 29th, the 7th and 8th episodes of Full House of Romance were broadcast with a rating of 197% and 225% respectively. This kind of stable and frightening increase is simply terrible, because most TV series will show irregular curve fluctuations in the ratings, and it is really rare to see a continuous straight-line rise like Full House of Romance. At this time, even those who are biased against Lu Chen have to admit that he has succeeded again, and is likely to create new records and results. In South Korea, the ratings of Full House of Romance have exceeded 30%, and KGS has increased its publicity efforts for this. On the internet, there are more and more fans of Full House of Romance. The number of fans on Wave's blog has exceeded the 1 million mark, and the popularity of related posts and forums has remained high. Lu Chen, who plays the big star protagonist, and Chen Fei-er, who plays the online female writer, have once again gained a wave of fans with the help of this TV series, becoming the most popular couple on the domestic screen at present. The delicate shooting style, the beautiful exotic atmosphere, the interlocking storyline, the handsome and determined male protagonist, and the beautiful female protagonist, who is a little silly, jointly interpret a moving story full of warmth and romance. Completely contrary to the bitter sadomasochism of Autumn in My Heart, this TV series is aimed at making people happy. The characters in the story have a lot of humorous dialogue, and many wonderful sentences have quickly spread on the internet. The audience is the most realistic. The remote control is in their hands. Watching a TV series that has been shot with more than 100 million investment, and it has been shot with countless efforts and time, there is no reason for them to directly change the channel if they feel it is not to their liking. But they were also the most selfless. When they saw a drama they liked, they would take the initiative to recommend it to their friends and family. They would even argue with those who opposed it on the internet. The extreme development of the information network has made it very easy to spread this kind of evaluation from the audience. QQ, Feishin, blogs, BBS. One person's opinion can easily be seen by tens of thousands of people. The reputation of Full House of Romance has been fermenting over time. The increase in the ratings is completely natural, and the potential is infinite. It's just that the rise of a winner is often stepping on the bones of countless losers. Full House of Romance is undoubtedly Shonen TV's Sea of Love as a stepping stone. It's very interesting to say that Shonen TV originally premiered Sea of Love first and competed head-on with Full House of Romance in the ratings. Their purpose was to step on the ladder and prove that they are worthy of being the king of the summer slot. The momentum of the premiere of Sea of Love is very good. The production quality of this TV series is actually not bad. However, as a tragedy that follows the trend, its biggest tragedy is precisely that it chose to fight head-on with Full House of Romance. Shonen TV has not realized that the audience's appreciation tastes are changing. They are wishful thinking that they can replicate the success of Autumn in My Heart. They are superstitious about their own successful publicity and hype. They stubbornly and arrogantly refuse to believe that Lu Chen's Full House of Romance is a strong opponent. In their view, only Full House of Romance avoids the edge of Sea of Romance. There is absolutely no reason for Sea of Romance to retreat from Full House of Romance. But the market has ruthlessly educated them, slapping the faces of those who advocate Sea of Romance and belittle Full House of Romance. On July 30th, the 9th and 10th episodes of Full House of Romance were broadcast with ratings of 2.75% and 2.96% respectively. The highest ratings were only 0.4% away from breaking through 3%. At the same time, Full House of Romance's ratings in South Korea broke through 35% and moved towards the 40% mark. With less than half of the episodes broadcast, Full House of Romance has become a phenomenal new TV series. It firmly occupies the top spot of all TV shows in the same period, leaving other TV series far behind. It has booked the throne of the summer ratings in advance. Unless there is a shocking reversal, it will be unshakable. In contrast, the ratings of Sea of Romance have fallen to about 1%, which is extremely embarrassing. The first few episodes of this shonen TV masterpiece are still some highlights, but in the middle, the usual nature of the melodramatic screenwriter is exposed, and it can't get rid of the pattern of autumn in my heart, so the audience has little expectation for the later plot, and it can't help but feel like chewing wax. The reason why it can struggle at 1% is because of the fans of many idol stars in the show. On the internet, especially in the blog of Waves, which is the main position of film and TV series publicity, the blog posts touting Sea of Romance have been greatly reduced. But anyone with a little brain knows that the show has been exhausted, and it is really stupid to continue to spend money on publicity. In the industry, there are many voices of rational discussion about the very different performance of the two TV series. Why did the magic weapon that shonen TV relied on to sweep the market fail? Why did the great change from a sad sadomasochistic drama to a romantic comedy always win the audience's favor? Has the domestic TV series reached the critical moment of seeking novelty and change? Everything is worth thinking about. In such thinking and discussion, as the leading actor of the two phenomenal dramas Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance, screenwriter, producer, arranger, and other important identities, Lu Chen's status in the industry has quietly risen. He may still lack some foundation from the real big stars, but whether it is popularity or fame, he has become the top. The most important thing is that he is still very young, very young. Youth means unlimited possibilities in the future. Chapter 403. It's not easy to see you now. The soft voice with a hint of hidden bitterness coming from the mouth of a beautiful woman made people unable to bear it. But Lu Chen just smiled faintly and said, "Sorry, I've been too busy recently." Today in his own studio, he had already received 3 visitors, and the 4th visitor was the general manager of Light Rain Media, Miss Su Qingmei. Lu Chen was not perfunctory. Since the ratings of the new drama Full House of Romance exceeded 3%, the number of media who came to visit or called for interviews suddenly increased. Various film and television entertainment companies and agencies came one after another, and there were even more institutional investors. Lu Shi, who was the general manager of the studio and Lu Chen's agent, couldn't even use 3 mobile phones. It was too late to deal with all kinds of people who came to the door, so she grabbed him from home to share the pressure. Su Qingmei had contacted Lu Chen several times, and today she finally caught him. The general manager of Light Rain Media had a very complicated heart. Just over a year ago, she looked at Lu Chen with a completely condescending attitude. At that time, Lu Chen was just a small singer in Forget Grass Bar, no different from thousands of newcomers in the capital. However, a year later now Lu Chen had reached the point where she needed to look up to him. She had to make an appointment several times to see him, as if the identity of the two sides had been reversed. Of course, Su Qingmei's identity was not so low, but she came to find Lu Chen because she had something to ask. "I know you are a busy person." Su Qingmei quickly adjusted her mentality and said straightforwardly, "Our company recently signed a newcomer who is very talented. I want to ask you to write a single for her." Lu Chen readily agreed, "Okay, I'll arrange a time for her to come over and meet me." In the film and television industry, Lu Chen, who only had 2 works, was not a real big star, but in the pop music industry he was worthy of being the best singer, and his works were enough to overshadow any of his peers. For example, in the currently popular Full House of Romance, Lu Chen wrote a theme song and 2 interludes, which quickly made it to the original music chart. No one could doubt his talent in pop music. And Lu Chen was also the highest-priced songwriter in the circle. The sky-high price of 500,000 for a work set a record, which also greatly increased the treatment of his peers. Although the price tag was jaw-dropping, there was still an endless stream of entertainment agencies and singers who came to invite Lu Chen for songs, because his works were equivalent to bestsellers and were completely worth the money. It's just that it's not easy to ask Lu Chen to write a song now. He basically writes a song in 10 days on average. The invitations are almost at the end of the year. If you want to jump the queue, you have to rely on your relationship. Su Qingmei was here to cut the queue. Fortunately, Lu Chen gave him a lot of face and happily agreed. His studio had a good working relationship with Light Rain Media. Light Rain Media had several newcomers that appeared in Full of Romance. Although they were not important characters, they were still considered partners. As for the Bionics, there was no need to mention it. Su Qingmei's mood immediately improved. She smiled and said, "Thank you so much. I'll treat you to dinner tonight." After a brief hesitation, Lu Chen tactfully refused. "Unfortunately, I have an appointment tonight." Su Qingmei asked sourly, "With your family's one?" The one in Lu Chen's house was naturally the beloved Miss Qin Fei. Ever since the relationship between Lu Chen and Qin Fei was made public, the heavenly queen of the music industry entered the rhythm of daily public displays of affection. From time to time, she would post photos on her blog to bully the single people. However, she did not delay her career because of this. Instead, she moved from the pop music industry to the film and television industry. Both of her TV series became the ratings champion and her popularity continued to rise. Who knew how many people in the industry were envious and jealous? In the beginning, some people said that Lu Chen was lucky to have a relationship with the heavenly queen and that he could live off a woman. But now, who could say that? Su Qingmei sometimes thought that if she had taken down Lu Chen at all costs when Lu Chen had just emerged, what would Light Rain Media be like now? In fact, Light Rain Media was a small temple that could not accommodate such a great god. Lu Chen did not expect Su Qingmei to think so much. He nodded and replied, "Yes, let's go together next time." During this period of time, Qin Fei was busier than him. She first went to Korea and then there was a domestic endorsement event. She signed a contract and had to attend all of them. Today she had just returned to Beijing. Therefore, Lu Chen did not want anyone to disturb their date tonight. Okay then, Su Qingmei was not a clingy person. She put away her bag and with that strange thought in her heart, she slowly stood up and said, "Next time I'll treat you to a drink at Forget Worries Bar. I haven't been there for a long time." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Okay." He personally sent Su Qingmei out. After sending Su Qingmei off, Lu Chen returned to his office and saw Lu Shi sitting in his seat. His sister held a piece of paper in her hand and warned Lu Chen, "This Chief Su is a little bit interested in you. You have to know your limits and don't cause any scandals." Lu Shi and Su Qingmei had met a few times and knew each other, but her sister was not very interested in this charming woman. Lu Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Sister, what are you talking about?" He remembered that Lu Shi had warned him once before. He did not expect her to mention it again. Was Su Qingmei interested in him? Lu Chen didn't see it and he wouldn't think too much about it. Moreover, he already had Qin Fei in his career. Lu Shi curled her lips. "It's fine as long as you know what you're doing." She waved the paper in her hand and said, "These are the media that have made appointments to interview you. There are also the program invitations from various TV stations. Whether you want to go or not, it's up to you." Lu Chen took it and looked at it. He felt that his head was getting bigger. There were dozens of densely listed on it. Beijing Television, Zhejiang Satellite TV, Shanghai Satellite TV, Haijin Satellite TV, QQ, Chaolu, EasyNet, Entertainment Weekly, New Youth Daily. Lu Shi had obviously filtered out the small media. Otherwise the number would have been at least several times higher. These big media were not easy to offend, but if he agreed to all of them he would probably have to split himself into several pieces. Otherwise he would not be able to do anything else. Looking at Lu Chen's frowning face, his sister was in a good mood. "Oh, you can study it slowly. Say hello to Fei for me tonight." Lu Chen nodded weakly. Chapter 404. The road that the wind blows is still far away. Where is your story? In the recording studio, Lu Chen, who was wearing a huge monitoring headset, finished singing the last sentence of The Ordinary Road. He opened his eyes again and saw Wang Hui giving him a thumbs up through the thick glass. Lu Chen smiled, gave Wang Hui a thumbs up and then took off the headset. He was recording his second album. After careful consideration, The Ordinary Road would be the title song of the new album. So far, more than half of it had been completed, and it was expected to be on the market at the end of August. For Lu Chen, it felt really good to be back in the recording studio again. Nowadays, Lu Chen did not lack fame or fortune. His work life was busy and fulfilling, shooting TV shows, endorsing advertisements, and participating in various activities. But only here could he find his original love for music. The closed recording studio was isolated from all noise. Standing inside, he could hear his heartbeat and the sound of blood flowing. When the familiar accompaniment music sounded in the headset, he just wanted to sing. Most importantly, this was Lu Chen's own recording studio. There were no restrictions, and he could pursue perfection unscrupulously. In just a day or two, Lucien found the right feeling. The recording of one song after another was very smooth and he could not stop. But that was enough for today. Thank you for your hard work. Lucien walked out of the recording studio and said to Wang Hui, who was sitting in front of the tuning console, "Go to Meijing World tonight and spend as much as you want with my card." Meijing World was a food city in the business district near the New Era Art Park. It gathered delicious food and snacks from all over the world. The food was cheap and the business was excellent. After Lucien's studio moved here, Lucy applied for 2 prepaid membership cards in Meijing World. From time to time, she would take everyone to have a sumptuous meal, which could be regarded as a small benefit of the studio. In the past few days, Wang Hui has also worked hard. He is often busy until late at night. Although Lucien is not in a hurry to release his second album, for this technical otaku, being idle seems to be like a sin. Taking the membership card from Lucien, Wang Hui said shyly, "Thank you, boss." He added, "Next week I'll definitely finish it." Lucien smiled and said, "Actually, you don't have to rush. It's okay to take it slow. Just do your best." Wang Hui said without hesitation, "That's a must. This album will definitely surpass You Who Sat Next to Me." Lucien's debut solo album, You Who Sat Next to Me, was also recorded by Wang Hui, but at that time Wang Hui was still using his own recording studio and equipment, which was completely incomparable to what he has now. The renovation and equipment of Lucien Studio's recording studio cost nearly 10 million yuan. Although it couldn't be compared with the top sheds, it was definitely at the first-class level in China. For Wang Hui, who is obsessed with professionalism, letting him independently take charge of such a recording studio built completely according to his own ideals is like a mouse being transferred to a rice jar, which is extremely satisfying. Under such circumstances, Wang Hui can't tolerate any slack or relaxation in his work. He can only use his hardest work to repay Lucien's trust and support. Lucien smiled and patted Wang Hui on the shoulder. "Drink some water." At this time, a bottle of mineral water was handed to Lucien. "Thank you." Lucien took it, unscrewed the cap, took 2 sips and asked, "When did you come?" It was Wang Jing who handed him the water. Wang Jing blinked and replied, "I just came, Ouyang and the others are outside." At the beginning of the year, Lucien took over the original Nirvana studios and reformed the Nirvana band. After the Nirvana band settled in their new home in Lucien's studio, under the arrangement of Lucien, in addition to the usual tasks of accompaniment and following the performance, they also went to other places such as Forget Grass Bar. Especially during the period when Lucien was busy shooting TV series, the Nirvana band spent most of their time running in addition to practicing, using this to constantly improve their ability level, maintain and temper their own skill level. As for the remuneration of the Nirvana band for running the venue, Lucien's studio did not take a penny. In this way, the Nirvana band is not only loyal to Lucien, but also their progress is very obvious. The quality of the accompaniment of Lucien's new album is much better than that of You Who Sat Next to Me. In the Nirvana band, Wang Jing is the well-deserved soul. She is the arranger, lead singer and guitarist. The harmony of several songs in Lucien's new album was also completed by Wang Jing. Lucien said with a smile, "That's just right. You can go to Beautiful World together and let everyone have a good meal." Wang Jing asked, "Aren't you going?" Lucien shook his head, "I have an appointment with Fei tonight. She just came back." Wang Jing nodded silently and suddenly said, "We are not going to go out for a while and concentrate on practicing your works. I want to rearrange several songs and make a live version." Lucien has plans to hold his own solo concert at the end of the year, and the Nirvana band will definitely participate in the whole process. It is rare for a singer's concert to be accompanied by a live band, and it is very low. Lucien said with a smile, "That's fine. It's estimated that it will be at least November." "By the way," he asked Wang Jing, "have you ever thought about releasing your own band single or album?" Wang Jing was obviously not prepared for Lucien's question and was stunned. Nirvana band's own album. For a long time, whether it is Wang Jing or the others in the Nirvana band, they have positioned themselves as Lucien's exclusive band and the studio's professional band. They have never thought of releasing a band album, because they are working for Lucien. On the contrary, Wang Hui reacted faster and asked hesitantly, "Boss, can we do it?" Wang Hui is also a member of the Nirvana band, but he belongs to the non-staff and can only play when needed. Lucien said with a smile, "Why not? The studio has all the conditions. Think about it yourself." He looked at the time and said, "I'll go first. You all go to dinner." Wang Jing looked at the background of Lu Chen's departure. She bit her lip and her eyes flashed with a complicated light. Wang Hui said cautiously, "Sister, actually," before he finished speaking he was knocked on the head by Wang Jing. "Actually what? Let's go." Wang Hui could only hold back the words he wanted to say with tears in his eyes. He had to be glad that he didn't say it, otherwise he would probably be unable to take care of himself. Although Wang Hui is a homebody, he is not stupid. Chapter 405. There were 5 to 6 wooden tables and dozens of dining chairs in the courtyard of a shabby house in the depths of an old alley. This was Master Chen's private kitchen. The tables were a little old. The paint was dark, but it was wiped clean. The dining chairs were almost the same. However, they were a little shaky when sitting on them. People were worried that they would directly collapse. Of course, it was impossible to turn on the air conditioner in the open-air courtyard. There was an electric fan in the corner. It blew and swayed from side to side, sending cool air to drive away the heat of summer. Compared with those formal restaurants, the environment here was definitely terrible. However, the customers who came one after another didn't eat the environment, but the taste. Lu Chen hadn't been here for a long time, but nothing had changed here. He came with Chen Fei. Master Chen's private kitchen had always had a good business. It didn't accept reservations. If you wanted a table in the small courtyard, you had to come early or late. Lu Chen and Chen Fei came at 7 o'clock in the evening. It was just past the peak time for dinner, so they didn't need to wait for a table. They ordered braised lion's head, 3 sets of duck, squirrel mandarin fish, boiled shredded dried meat, and 2 baskets of crab meat buns. These were authentic Huayang dishes, which were Lu Chen's favorite dishes and Master Chen's signature dishes. The braised lion's head, which had been simmering in the clay pot for a long time, was served first. Big lion's head was in the pot. The thick red sauce was steaming hot, and the fragrance was very tempting. Lu Chen used chopsticks and a spoon to pick up a small piece for Chen Fei. The latter carefully ate a few mouthfuls and couldn't help but show a surprised expression. "It's delicious." Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's good. I was afraid that you wouldn't like it." Today Chen Fei had just returned to the capital. The two hadn't seen each other for a while, so they made an appointment to have dinner together in the evening. For some reason, Lu Chen suddenly thought of Master Chen's private chef, so he brought Chen Fei to this old place on the 3rd Ring Road to have a sumptuous meal. A bottle of red wine that cost tens of thousands of yuan and a steak that cost thousands of yuan could certainly bring enjoyment to the taste buds, but beer that cost a few yuan and braised meatballs that cost tens of yuan were not inferior at all. "How could that be?" Chen Fei shook his head and said, "Of course I would like such delicious food. Besides, the most important thing about eating is not what you eat, but who you eat with." There was a smile on her face and her eyes were as gentle as water, intoxicating. Lu Chen hadn't drunk yet, so he was a little tipsy. Although it was the same dish, the taste was really different, more delicious. "I used to live in a basement near here, and Li Feiyu was my neighbor." Lu Chen told Chen Fei about the past. "When it's time to get paid, we come here to have a meal to satisfy our cravings. I like the braised meatballs made by Master Chen the most. I really want to eat it today." Chen Fei listened quietly, then ate a few mouthfuls of food and put more food in Lu Chen's bowl. The dinner was very heartwarming. When Lu Chen was about to pay the bill and leave, several girls walked over hesitantly. One of them asked, Excuse me, you are Lu Chen, Chen Fei, right?" Not knowing whether it was because of excitement or nervousness, her face was flushed. Several girls were also eating here, and then they noticed Lu Chen and Chen Fei sitting not far away. At first they didn't dare to rashly disturb them, but now they finally mustered up the courage to do so. Lu Chen and Chen Fei looked at each other and smiled. Both of them wore sunglasses when they came, and of course they took them off when eating, so it was normal for them to be recognized. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Yes, hello." Hello. The girl who got a friendly response was even more excited. Can we take a photo together? I'm your fan." Lu Chen nodded, "Of course." He had met many fans now, and as long as the time was right, he would satisfy all requests for photos and autographs. Yay! The little girl was so happy that she immediately jumped to Lu Chen's side, hugged his arm, and then made a victory sign to her companions and smiled like a blooming spring flower. Her companions had already taken out their mobile phones and were snapping a few photos in a row. Then they took one after another, and of course they also took a few photos with Chen Fei and quickly posted them on their WeChat moments. Lu Chen and Chen Fei patiently accompanied them to finish the selfie. The two of them were very consistent when it came to treating their fans. unlike some celebrities who took the cold route and always ignored their fans. So the fans of both of them were very united. After taking the photos, Lu Chen quickly pulled Chen Feier away, because there were other guests in the small courtyard watching. If other people were to come over to watch, it would be a little difficult to escape. Xian's car was waiting at the entrance of the alley outside, and Lu Chen asked her to send him and Chen Feier to Hohai. "I'm so full tonight." Hand in hand as they strolled along the lake, Chen Feier happily complained, "At least I've gained more than half a kilo." Lu Chen laughed, "How much do you weigh? It doesn't matter if you gain a kilo." Chen Feier paid a lot of attention to maintaining her figure, and insisted on doing yoga every day, so her weight was the perfect standard. Chen Feier asked, "Then do you like the fat me or the thin me?" Lu Chen said, "I like you, I don't care if you're fat or thin." Chen Feier laughed, "Sweet words and honeyed words, you only know how to coax me." Although she said that, she still smiled sweetly. After walking for a while, the two of them sat down on a bench by the side of the road, staring at the distant lights and sparkling waves. Chen Feier hugged Lu Chen's waist, leaning half of her body in his arms. She softly hummed. "The most romantic thing I can think of is to slowly grow old with you." Collecting bits and pieces of laughter along the way, leaving it for later, sitting on a rocking chair and slowly chatting. "The most romantic thing I can think of is to slowly grow old with you. Until we're too old to go anywhere, you still think of me as a treasure in your hands." The song, "The Most Romantic Thing," she sang was the second interlude written by Lu Chen for Full House of Romance. Together with another interlude song, Only for You, sung by Lu Chen, they were currently ranked 3rd and 7th on the original music chart. This was a delicate and gentle love song. It was warm and romantic, expressing a little woman's view of happiness through melody and lyrics. Therefore, it quickly became popular after it was broadcast on the TV series. The official version of the song, Full of Romance, released by the official V account, had already broken the 10 million download mark. But for Lu Chen, whether it was the interlude on TV or the official version, it was far less touching than Chen Feier's soft humming at this moment. He held his lover in his arms as if he had the whole world. Note, The Most Romantic Thing lyrics, Yao Ruolong / composer, Li Jingfan. Chapter 406. Following the ratings of the 11th and 12th episodes of Full House of Romance on July 31st, the ratings of the 13th and 14th episodes, which were broadcast on August 5th, reached 3.45% and 3.56% respectively, getting closer and closer to Lu Chen's stated goal. At this time, even people with stubborn prejudices have to admit that Lu Chen's second TV series has achieved more success than Autumn in My Heart, and is bound to lead the domestic TV market again. A tragedy of sadomasochism, a romantic comedy, Lu Chen seems to have a pair of eyes that can see through people's hearts. He is always able to grasp the audience's preferences and create one miracle after another. However, the success of Full House of Romance has also made Shonen TV's Sea of Love fall into an extremely embarrassing situation. Its 15th and 16th episodes, which were broadcast on August 5th, finally fell below 1%. Why did they use the word finally? That was because on Waves's blog, Lu Chen's fans were eagerly looking forward to Sea of Love falling through the bottom line. The comment section of Hu Yang's blog was flooded with 1% messages. It was simply what everyone expected. This made Shonen TV, which had made a vigorous publicity campaign before the broadcast of Sea of Love, very embarrassed. The marketing methods that were originally aimed at Full House of Romance were now all turned around and slapped in the face. It didn't matter if they were slapped in the face. Anyway, Shonen TV has always been very thick-skinned. However, Sea of Love, which had a huge investment, had a rating of 1%, which was very terrible. Someone had to be responsible for such a bad situation, right? So the industry soon had news that the crew member who advocated head-on with Full House of Romance had been transferred, and Sea of Love was likely to change its broadcast time. Now it seemed that if Sea of Love had not fought head-on with Full House of Romance, the ratings would not have fallen to such a point. Since there was no place to buy medicine for regret, they could only make up for it. Sea of Love, which had been hyped up in full swing, failed to step on Full House of Romance. Instead, it was trampled by Full House of Romance. Naturally, the evaluation of Lu Chen in the industry reached a new height. If the success of his first drama, Autumn in My Heart, was due to luck, then the popularity of Full House of Romance could only mean that he was so strong. Because no one could rely on luck to continuously create miracles. On the evening of August 8th, Lu Chen participated in the talk show, National Star, on the popular radio station FM 103. 6. Pop Radio is a first-class commercial radio station and online radio station in China. It takes into account both traditional and new media. The programs cover film and television, music, digital, fashion, travel, food, and other content that young people like. Whether it is radio or online, there are many listeners. On the other hand, Star of the Whole People was a celebrity talk show launched by the popular radio station a few years ago. Its listenership was quite high and it had a certain influence in the industry. Therefore, after receiving an invitation from a pop radio station, Lu Qin did not refuse to appear on this program. The live broadcast began at 7:30 p.m. at the pop radio station's headquarters in Beijing. Good evening to the listeners in front of the radio, and good evening to the netizens. This is the popular radio station, FM 103. 6. Welcome everyone to Star of the Whole People program. I am De Min. I am Xiaoxing. The two hosts of Star of the Whole People were a man and a woman. Their stage names De Min and Xiaoxing were quite famous. They had millions of fans on Waves. De Min was about 30 years old. He wore glasses and looked gentle. His voice was clear and clean and he spoke humorously. His partner Xiaoxing was much younger. She had fair and beautiful long hair, and she had a pleasant and moving voice. De Min was the first to introduce, tonight's Star of the Whole People. We have invited a famous singer-songwriter, a famous screenwriter, and a famous actor. And they are actually the same person. Xiaoxing smiled and continued, he is teacher Lu Qin. Everyone please welcome him. The sound effects of the applause sounded and Lu Qin said into the microphone, good evening everyone. I am Lu Qin. It's a pleasure to chat with the two hosts on the pop radio station. Xiaoxing said, first of all, I would like to congratulate Lu Qin. Full House of Romance, which was written, created, and starred in by Lu Qin, broke through 4% in the ratings last night, setting a record for the same type of TV series in the past decade. De Min said, congratulations Lu Qin. Lu Qin said with a smile, thank you. The 18th episode of Full House of Romance, which was broadcast on the evening of August 7th, broke through 4% in the ratings, reaching 4.6%. Although the industry had long expected this result, when it really happened, it still caused a heated discussion. It became the headline of many entertainment media, and it once again attracted a wave of attention. For more than a decade, the domestic TV series market had developed rapidly. The number of TV series shot every year continued to increase, showing a thriving trend. However, it was also accompanied by fierce competition and the phenomenon of blindly following the trend. This was especially true for TV series with urban themes. Idol dramas and youth dramas were popular. In terms of theme and style, they mainly imitated Japanese and Korean dramas. Although there were more TV series, the average ratings were constantly declining. Many people attributed this to the impact of the internet on TV. As the main audience of idol dramas and youth dramas, young people had many choices for entertainment, and they preferred Japanese, Korean, and American dramas. This view had always existed. However, the success of Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance suddenly made everyone realize that in fact, domestic TV series also had great potential. Success did not depend on hype, scandals, or arguments, but creativity and sincerity. As a domestic TV series, the ratings of Full House of Romance in South Korea had exceeded 40%, far ahead of other local Korean TV series in the same period, causing the Korean media to cry wolf. Full House of Romance, which still had 7 episodes to go, had become a real phenomenon. The two hosts of Stars of the Nation naturally could not avoid this topic, so they first flattered it. Then they changed the topic to the male and female leads. Little Star said, I have a listener here called Tianyak Attic. He said he would like to know, Teacher Lu Qin, who was the first to pursue Qin Fei or when you were in love? When she asked Lu Qin, the host had a smile on her face. Obviously she also wanted to know the answer. Stars of the Nation was a real live program. Radio listeners could interact with the host or the celebrities being interviewed through the hotline, while netizens could leave messages on the live website, and then the host would filter out the questions. This question was a little interesting. Chapter 407. Who chased who first? This question made Lu Qin recall how he and Qin Fei first met, became familiar with each other and fell in love. A faint smile appeared on his face. Xiaoxing suddenly felt jealous. Lu Qin was very young, tall, handsome, and had a perfect image. He also had outstanding talent and a bright future. A person like him was undoubtedly the dream lover of many girls, but he was already taken. How lucky was it to be able to win Lu Chen's love? However, the person he loved was an existence that not many women could compete with. It really made people feel powerless to be jealous, and they did not even have the slightest confidence to compete. Lu Chen thought for a moment and replied, "Actually, no one took the initiative to chase who first. How should I put it? You met someone at a certain time and place, fell in love, and then the other person also fell in love with you, and the two of them naturally got together. This is basically my love story." Lu Chen's answer cleverly avoided the question of who was chasing who, and it was impeccable, making it impossible for people to solve the problem. Otherwise, whether he said that he or Qin Fei are chased first, it would be a laughing stock. Yes, a very beautiful love. Demin nodded, his eyes landing on the tablet screen. There's another question. A Pink Peach listener asked, Lu Chen, is Qin Fei your first girlfriend? If not, what was the reason for the breakup? The host had a smile on his face and he looked a little mischievous. This question seems a little sensitive. Of course, you don't have to answer. Although he said he did not have to answer, he actually wanted Lu Chen to answer. Since it was sensitive, why ask? Lu Chen knew that the host had to create a highlight, and the host's limits were not too much. Of course, he did not have to answer, but avoiding the question would inevitably make people think that he had a guilty conscience and had some unbearable past. Therefore, answering such a question was better than not answering, and the key was how to answer it. He smiled and said, "When I was in school, I fell in love like many people, but we broke up in the end. As for the reason, I think, at that time we were still too young to understand love." Demin and Little Star looked at each other and saw admiration in each other's eyes. Stars of the Nation had been on air for 2 years and had invited many celebrities. In the past, they had also talked about love, but there weren't many who could give such a meaningful answer like Lu Chen. Lu Chen was very young, but he seemed to have a deep understanding of love, as if he had already experienced the vicissitudes of life. What he brought to the two of them was really a wonderful feeling. At this moment, in the live broadcast room of the popular radio station Citizen Star, the listeners started to flood the screen. Due to the preview of the program and the recent explosion of Lu Chen's popularity, the number of viewers listening to the popular radio station's live webcast was very high. As of now, it had exceeded 1.2 million and was still increasing. Such a popularity index was really rare in the past radio broadcasts of Stars of the Nation. I want to say that I'm not one of the many people who have never been in a relationship after graduating from university. Never talked about it +1. We broke up when we graduated from university. Now that I think about it, I really want to cry. Yes, we didn't understand love when we were young. I'm very curious who Lu Chen's first girlfriend is. Do you think she is also listening to this program? Lu Chen, I want to hear you sing a song about love. I want to hear a song plus 10,000. The comments of these online listeners would be reflected on the screen in the broadcasting room in real time. The host, Little Star, smiled and said, "So many listeners have said that they want to hear you sing a song about love. What do you think?" Lu Chen did not refuse. Of course. Before going on the program, it was said that there would be a live singing segment, but it was just brought forward. Even the guitar had been prepared. Lu Chen took the guitar from the radio station staff and held it in his arms to test the tone. After building up his mood, he said into the microphone, "This song is for love, it's called Because of Love." His voice turned into radio waves and signals, instantly transmitted thousands of miles away and into the boundless online world. There was also the sound of the piano and singing. "I'll give you a CD of the past, listen to our love at that time. Sometimes I suddenly forget that I'm still in love with you. I can't sing that kind of song anymore, although I often forget that I'm still in love with you. Because love is not easily sad, therefore, everything seemed to be blissful. Because love grows simply, can still be crazy for you at any time." Gently plucking the strings, Lu Chen sang this song because of love from shallow to deep, as if he was telling his own love story, telling those sweet, warm and romantic stories. His simple playing and singing were like the simplest confession. There was a tinge of sadness in it, but it was full of deep nostalgia. It easily aroused people's desire for love from the bottom of their hearts. It was sincere and exquisite. Because how can love have vicissitudes so we're still young? Because love is in that place, there are still people wandering there, people coming and going. This song was originally a duet between a man and a woman, but Lu Chen slightly changed it to a solo. But what didn't change was the beautiful melody and touching lyrics. He chose this song not to find the feeling of first love again, but to treat his love with a more mature state of mind. "Qin Fei, should also be listening to this program, and he believed that she could understand his heart. As the audience at the scene, the hosts of National Star, Min and Little Star, listened very seriously and were very moved. Little Star even listened with red eyes. She was deeply moved by this song because of love. In the online live broadcast room, the rolling comments never stopped. Because of love? I really, really want to be in love again. Why does it sound so good? 55555, I want to cry listening to it. As a single dog, I feel deeply hurt, and I don't want to listen to it anymore. Lu Chen's songs are really getting better and better. I like this love song. Lu Chen, I love you. At that time, sighing, sad, admiring, expressing love. Thousands of comments became the footnotes of this song. As Lu Chen finished playing and singing, pa, 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 there was applause in the broadcasting room of the pop radio station, applause from the two hosts. Tonight's program was already a success with this song. Because of love. Note, because of love, lyricist/composer, Little Ko. Chapter 408. Jiangqing West District, Flying Dragon Internet Cafe. It was already late at night, but the smoky internet cafe was still filled to the brim. There weren't many empty seats. Wang Pu took a deep breath of the Red 5 cigarette in his mouth and smoked the last bit of tobacco. Then he reluctantly pressed the cigarette butt into the ashtray. The next moment he puffed out the smoke, straightened his back and opened his arms, looking energetic. Wang Pu opened the QQ group skillfully, his fingers flying on the keyboard. Brothers, get ready to vote. The same content was quickly copied to the other two groups. The group members responded immediately. Don't worry, group owner. My 15 recommendation votes are dying. Just waiting for 12 o'clock. 2 Vs, 9 tickets. I will buy them all this week. You guys get ready, I will send some tips first. Damn Taheo, you are here too. Please hug my leg, please whip me. You must get on the recommendation list on the homepage. Looking at the comments that flashed across the screen, Wang Pu felt his blood boiling. He felt like he was commanding an army of thousands of men and horses to charge and break through enemy lines. Just after 12 o'clock, he pressed the confirm button in the voting column and gave all the 7 recommendation votes to the smiling, the proud wanderer. After 12 o'clock, it will be Monday, and according to the rules of Inspire Books, the hit list, recommendation list and gift list on the home page will be reset and refreshed, so this is the best time to grab a prominent position on the list. As a loyal fan of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer and the owner of the group of 3,000 readers of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Wang Pu had been planning this action for several days. He had mobilized a large number of members in the group as well as the book bar in the forum. Wang Pu had been suppressing his anger. The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer was first released on Waves on May 27th, and it had been updated for more than 2.5 months until August 14th. The number of updated words had reached more than 400,000. Clicks, 235600, recommendations, 225647, favorites, 6690, comments, 23,690. Without any recommendation, it was a small miracle that the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer could get such a result. The click-through ratio was close to 1, which beat many books on the list. However, with such a good result, the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer was still unsigned. It seemed that Waves didn't even care about the existence of the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Wang Pu felt deeply insulted that he couldn't even sign a contract with such a good book. Since he discovered this martial arts novel on Inspire Books, he quickly became a loyal fan, and reading it twice a day has become a habit of his life. As the number of words increased, the story of the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer was getting better and better. The exciting plots made him unable to stop. There were several times when he wanted to save a few chapters to read, but when it came to the end he clicked on the web page as if he was possessed. This made Wang Pu curious about the author of the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. He tried to contact him many times through text messages, but there was no response. In Wang Pu's opinion, Memories of Present and Ancient should be a talented and capable writer who did not understand the rules of online literature. Other than diligently updating daily, he did not know how to interact with readers and did not advertise himself. He was like an old ox that silently plowed the land. But it didn't matter. Wang Pu created several reader groups and advertised in the book review section and Cheba forum to attract people. He managed to unite a large number of old buy readers who also liked the book. Wang Pu definitely contributed to the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer's current success. He didn't ask for the gratitude of the Smiling, the Proud Wanderer or anything else. He just didn't want this good book to be buried. It couldn't be buried either. Many readers felt the same as Wang Pu. They were angry about the smiling, the proud wanderer. That was why this ranking competition was born. Once the smiling, the proud wanderer was on the list, Waves couldn't continue to ignore it. Unless they were all blind. The group logo at the bottom right corner of the screen was flashing crazily. In the 3,000 reader groups of the smiling, the proud wanderer, many people were posting pictures of their achievements. The so-called pictures of achievements were screenshots of votes, including gifts. The more votes and gifts, the better it was. Because of their collective action, the smiling, the proud wanderer's weekly recommendation votes were increasing rapidly. After 10 minutes, it was at the top of the list with 3,780 votes. The three groups were instantly filled with cheers. Haha, it is at the top of the list. That's it. Yes, there is strength in numbers. Good job, everyone. It's not challenging at all. I have prepared 3 accounts and 25 recommendation votes. It would be great if we could stand for a week. Wang Pu said hurriedly, don't be too happy. Our opponents are very strong. Those who have votes, please continue to vote. Even if we could stand for a day, it would be great. Although the smiling, the proud wanderer was at the top of the list with their efforts, it was only temporary. Those popular books on the website had far more readers. Once they started, they could easily destroy their efforts. Wang Pu chose to make use of the time difference so that the smiling, the proud wanderer could stand on the list as long as possible. His ultimate goal was to get this book signed and get a chance to recommend it. Wang Pu also believed that as long as the smiling, the proud wanderer was recommended by the website, its results would definitely soar. The group members all agreed with him. Don't worry, group leader. We won't waste our votes. I will go to other groups and ask for as many as I can. At least one day on the front page? In fact, there are not many people in the group. There will be more today. Anyway, I will give all my votes to the smiling, the proud wanderer this week. Support a good book. Support group leader. Wang Pu felt warm in his heart. He did these things not for fame or profit, but purely out of his love for the smiling, the proud wanderer. He was really satisfied to have so many readers supporting him. After thinking for a while, Wang Pu said, "Thank you, everyone. It's late. Go to bed early. We will see the results tomorrow. Good night." Wang Pu closed the QQ group and went to the bar to pay the bill. He left the Flying Dragon Internet Cafe and ate a bowl of noodles at a nearby restaurant. Then he went back to his rented apartment and slept. Wang Pu had a dream. He dreamed that he was in the Jianghu full of swords and swords in the book. And he himself was the protagonist of the chivalrous act. Chapter 409. At 7 in the morning, Wang Pu woke up on time. He washed up in a hurry and ran to work in the morning light. This was the most important way for Wang Pu to exercise his body. Unless it was raining or snowing, he would never stop. He had breakfast in a breakfast shop not far from his office. It was still early. Wang Pu walked as usual and took out his phone from his pocket. He opened the app of Waves Books. He couldn't wait to know how the smiling, the proud wanderer was doing and whether it was pushed down from the top of the weekly recommendation list by other books. Wang Pu scrolled through the rankings. Surprisingly, he didn't see any familiar titles on the weekly recommendation list. Pushed out of the top 10 so quickly? The weekly recommendation list of Waves Books only showed the top 10. Wang Pu couldn't help feeling disappointed. But soon he found something was wrong. Because the data on the phone showed that the recommendation for the 10th place had less than 3,000 votes. How was that possible? Wang Pu remembered very clearly that in the wee hours of the morning, the smiling, the proud wanderer, was at the top of the list with 3,780 votes. How could it not be in the top 10 now? Wang Pu suddenly had a bad feeling. He hurriedly clicked on more data on the weekly recommendation list, but the name of the smiling, the proud wanderer was nowhere to be found. Wang Pu quickly took out the smiling, the proud wanderer from his bookshelf and opened it to check the data. Weekly recommendation: 0 votes. Wang Pu felt like there were 10,000 alpacas galloping through his heart. His face turned red and his hair stood up. Damn it. What the F***ck. Although Wang Pu was young, he was definitely an experienced reader of online novels. He knew the rules of the literature website. He knew that it was not the website's data that was wrong, but the votes were blocked because it was considered to have been manipulated. The votes were reset to 0, and all votes were invalid within the time limit. If the smiling, the proud wanderer was really manipulated, Wang Pu would accept it. Nowadays, the website was quite strict with this kind of cheating, and the punishment was not low. As a reader, he would support it. However, these recommendation votes were cast by hundreds and thousands of readers. They were definitely not cheated. Last night, everyone had worked hard in front of the computer until 12 o'clock to vote. Now all their hard work had gone up in smoke. How could Wang Pu be willing? The group was probably in an uproar right now. He couldn't help but speed up his pace and hurriedly came to his workplace. Before his boss came, he turned on the computer and logged into his QQ. As Wang Pu expected, several QQ groups were already full of complaints. Does anyone know why our recommendation votes have been cleared? Holy sh*t, are you kidding me? Hee, books that haven't signed a contract won't be on the list. What else is there to say? This is too unfair. I want to complain. Forget it. The arm can't twist the thigh. What's the use of complaining? She doesn't even care about you. I'm so angry. Some people were confused, some were agitated, some were angry, and some were clamoring for justice. Even though the number of members online at this time was not bad, everyone was talking at once. Wang Pu clenched his teeth, his fingers tapping on the keyboard with extra force. For this matter, we have to seek an explanation from Waves Reading. Why did they remove our recommendation votes? We didn't fake our votes. It's normal for readers to vote to support their favorite books or authors. If this counts as fake votes, then there's no need for the list to exist at all. On this matter, Wang Pu was confident. How could he swallow his anger? His opinion was immediately supported by everyone. The way to seek an explanation was very simple, that is, to complain and protest through the customer service of Waves Reading. 1 or 2 complaints may not have any effect, but what if there are hundreds or thousands of people? The effect will definitely be different. The group members of the Smiling, Proud, and Smiling Wanderer Readers Group are still very united. Their large number of complaints and protests have also attracted the attention of Inspire Books Official, because many of these readers are VIP users, and their levels are very high. In other words, they were regular subscribers. Near noon, the department head of Waves Reading, together with the channel's editor-in-chief, editor, and technical customer service staff, held a small meeting to discuss this matter. The head asked, "What's going on with the book, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer? So many people complained." The technician explained, "This book suddenly appeared on the top of the weekly list at 0:10 this morning. There's a serious suspicion of fake votes, so I blocked the votes this morning." The head frowned and asked, "Have you checked if it's really fake votes?" The technician shook his head, "Not yet. The votes are all normal, but..." At this time the channel's editor-in-chief coughed and said, "I've paid attention to this book before. It's quite good and the theme is quite special, but the author refused to sign the contract." The supervisor furrowed his brows. "What's the reason for your refusal?" The editor-in-chief said, "He has a problem with the copyright contract, so he didn't want to sign it." "So that's why..." The head suddenly understood. Sometimes, the author refused to sign the contract and it was mostly because of the contract. But it was really rare for a book like The Smiling, Proud Wanderer to appear on the homepage list without a contract. It should be known that unsigned works did not have any recommendations, so the exposure was too low. How could it compare with popular books? But understanding was one thing, but how to deal with it? The head was also a bit puzzled. It was obviously unjust to block the list, but since the author refused to sign the contract, it would not bring benefits to the website. Why would the website give the valuable homepage resources to him? After thinking about it, the head said resolutely, "Since it's blocked, let's block it to the end. Contact the author again and ask him if he is willing to sign the contract. If he is willing, then we will unblock it." What if he is still not willing? No one asked this question because it was not necessary. The customer service staff asked, "What about those complaints?" The head smiled and said, "Just tell them that the data of this book is abnormal, and the technology is dealing with it." In any case, he would not let The Smiling, Proud Wanderer on the homepage, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. After the meeting, the editor-in-chief contacted Remember Now and Ancient again through QQ. However, she didn't get any reply. Because at this time, Luchin didn't know the storm caused by The Smiling, Proud Wanderer at all. He was currently in Hangzhou. Chapter 410. On August 14th, Full House of Romance ended perfectly on Beijing Television and Zhidong Satellite TV. The 4 episodes broadcasted 2 days ago all had a viewership rating of more than 4%. By the 25th episode finale on the night of the 14th, the combined viewership rating of the 2 satellite TV stations reached 5.17%. Finally, the national average viewership rating of the popular drama steadily pulled over 3%, fully realizing and even exceeding the bold words released by Lu Qin before the broadcast. At the same time, the highest ratings of Full House of Romance in South Korea reached 42.72%, and the average ratings of the whole drama was 32.56%. It not only created a ratings miracle for domestic programs in South Korea, but also swept the Korean dramas of the same period, so much so that it triggered a wave of enthusiasm in South Korea's online community. At the same time, Lu Qin and Chin Fei-er's popularity in South Korea rose, becoming the most famous Chinese stars in South Korea. As for Shonen TV's Sea of Love, which originally competed with Full House of Romance in the ratings, it was ruthlessly crushed into slag in front of the ratings myth created by Full House of Romance. Although it did not change the broadcast time for the sake of face, it also became a joke in the industry. The winner takes all the honors. Although Full House of Romance was completely broadcast, the hot discussion about the show on the internet has not stopped. The number of fans of the official vlog of the crew even reached more than 5 million, and the popularity index was big, surpassing that of Autumn in My Heart. The fans of Full House of Romance were still not satisfied. The short 25 episodes obviously could not fully meet their needs, and the call for a replay or a sequel was very loud. Under such circumstances, Beijing Television and Zhidong Satellite TV announced at the same time that they would replay Full House of Romance at the end of August. At the same time, QQ Video also announced that it had won the right to broadcast Full House of Romance online. Full House of Romance was too popular and its ratings were so high that it was dazzling. There were as many as a dozen TV stations seeking the right to replay, and the price offered was quite attractive. However, Beijing Television and Zhidong Satellite TV were reluctant to give up this super big fat meat. They would rather pay a large sum of money to keep the replay rights with the priority in the contract and not let the fat water fall into the hands of outsiders. In addition, as one of the partners, Crown Pictures sought to purchase the movie rights of Full of Romance from Lu Qin Studio. Since both Lu Qin and Chin Fei-er had no intention of making a blockbuster movie like Full of Romance, and Crown Pictures was very sincere, the copyright contract was soon completed. The copyright transfer fee was 25 million yuan. The novel of the same name, Full House of Romance, was officially published by Shanghai Publishing House. Its first print run reached 500,000 copies. There was also a manga version, brand authorization, and a soundtrack album. After professional evaluation and the existing income, the final net profit of Full House of Romance for Lu Qin Studio would steadily exceed 100 million, and this was the income after tax deduction. Just by relying on this TV series, Lu Qin Studio was enough to rank among the first-class star studios. In addition to profits, he was also famous. Lu Qin's blog followers had also exceeded the 20 million mark. As an idol star who has only debuted for more than a year, Lu Qin is undoubtedly an artist who is good at creating miracles. His strength in music is well known, and he is proficient in both screenwriting and acting. His outstanding talent is simply enviable, as if it was a gift from heaven. A well-known blogger said on his blog, Lu Qin is an idol star because he has all the attributes of an idol: young, tall, handsome, healthy, sunny. But it is obviously very unfair to say that he is an idol star. He already has the potential to become a real superstar. What he lacks is nothing more than a few awards of sufficient weight. It is worth mentioning that the Yulan Awards, one of the two major domestic TV series awards, will announce the winners at the end of this month. As one of the highest-rated TV series last year, Autumn in My Heart, written and starring Lu Qin, has undoubtedly become one of the favorites. This inevitably makes people look forward to Lu Qin's performance at the Yulan Awards. Best TV Series, Best Actor, Best Screenwriting, Best Music, Best Original Theme Song. Amidst the uproar, Lu Qin announced that he would release his second album, The Ordinary Road, at the end of this month, and at the same time launched a crowdfunding campaign on the crowdfunding website, as well as a promotional tour in 7 major cities across the country. Lu Qin's second album can be said to be highly anticipated. The recording of all 10 songs has been completed and is currently in the intense post-production stage. The first stop he chose to promote was Hangzhou. Hangzhou has a special meaning for Lu Qin. He finished 4 years of college here and left countless beautiful or sad memories in his life. On the first day in Hangzhou, Lu Qin first met Gao He and Wang Xiaoling, his old classmates who had just been married. The dinner in the evening was booked by Gao He at the famous Shizi Hotel in Hangzhou, which was regarded as a welcome dinner for Lu Qin. But eating was not the main purpose. The important thing was that Gao He had resigned from his original company. When he married Wang Xiaoling 2 months ago, Lu Chen mentioned to the two that he wanted to invest in a mobile game company. Lu Chen would provide funds and ideas and he would manage it. After 2 months, Gao He couldn't wait to start his own business. Of course there is a reason. It's mainly the meaning of Xiaoling's family, Gao He explained to Lu Chen with a wry smile, looking quite helpless. Wang Xiaoling was very embarrassed. It turned out that although the two broke through the resistance of their families and got together, Gao He's father-in-law and mother-in-law were still dissatisfied with the marriage. In fact, it was mainly about buying a house. Both of them work in the company. Even if they earn double salaries, they don't know when they can buy a house in Hangzhou. Considering that they will have children in the future, they can't always rent a house, right? So their opinions are still quite big. The father-in-law and mother-in-law want to save face. They always feel that Wang Xiaoling is married like this. They can't lift their heads in front of their relatives and friends, so they can't help nagging Wang Xiaoling. Wang Xiaoling was complained by her family a lot, so she couldn't help but pull out Lu Chen's promise to prove that she has a future with Gao He. As a result, when Gao He's father-in-law and mother-in-law heard this, they immediately publicized this matter to their relatives and friends, and even Gao He's colleagues knew about it. This was very embarrassing. How could Gao He continue to stay in the original company, so he had to resign. Now that he has been put on the fire, he took advantage of Lu Chen's visit to revisit the old things and talk about starting his own business. After listening to the cause and effect, Lu Chen felt a little funny. Of course it doesn't matter. At the beginning he didn't make a promise without thinking. Now that Gao He has resigned, he will simply start the plan ahead of time. What's more, Lu Chen is prepared. Chapter 411. Gao He originally planned to come out after finishing his work in the company this year. Because of this unexpected change, it must have affected his plan, but his resignation was not the result of blindness and impulsiveness. Bad things can actually turn into good things. I have 2 buddies in the company who have a good relationship and are also capable. They want to start a business with me. Gao He said, among the people who just graduated from our school this year, I have contacted several younger brothers. If needed, I can immediately pull up a team of 10 people. The scale of Gao He's previous company is not large. At present, the competition in the mobile game industry is extremely fierce. In the winner-take-all situation, the situation of small enterprises in the weak position is undoubtedly much more difficult. Low wages and benefits, high labor intensity, and uncertain future. Gao He has been in this company for more than a year, and he has long had the idea of leaving, but he stayed out of the need to accumulate work experience. So after talking to Lu Chen last time, he was actively preparing. A team of 10 or so people was definitely far from enough to make a mobile game. However, as long as the flag was raised, it wouldn't be difficult to recruit relevant professionals in Hangzhou, which was a hot spot for advanced technology. It just depended on how big the company needed to be. At the beginning, we don't need a lot of people, Lu Chen smiled and said, I have already thought about the first game project. What do you do? Gao He suddenly became interested. Role-playing? Action? Strategy? Puzzle? He asked about the type of game. For a new company to start a business, the choice of mobile game type is very important, and it is one of the keys to success. Gao He understands technology and can also be a hardworking IT scalper, but game creativity is not his strength. He cares about the creativity proposed by Lu Chen, even more than the funds provided by Lu Chen. In such a mobile game market, creativity is really king. Lu Chen was not in a hurry to answer. He asked the waiter to find him a pen and a few pieces of printing paper. Picking up the pen and writing a line of English letters on the paper, Lu Chen handed it to Gao He. Gao He took it and looked at it, and he looked confused. Wang Xiaoling curiously poked her head and asked cautiously, happy? What was written on the paper was a website. Lu Chen smiled and said, that's right. This will be the new company's website. It will be called HappyNet. This URL had been registered a long time ago. Fortunately, it did not belong to a well-known website. Instead, it was in the hands of a domain name dealer. Lu Chen only spent 100,000 yuan to buy it. The first project of the new company will be a farming social network in mobile game. His brush flew, and he used simple strokes to quickly sketch out a rough image of the game on a new piece of white paper. There were fields, farmhouses, windmills, rivers, and so on. Of course, there were also growing vegetables. Lu Chen had learned sketching and coloring before. Although his drawing ability was far from that of a professional, it was still not a problem for him to draw this kind of childlike sketch. He finished it quickly. He used this picture to explain his ideas to Gao He. The name of this game is Happy Farm. All registered users have the initial resources, 6 squares of fields, farming tools, seeds, etc. They can log on every day to manage their own farms, planting, watering, fertilizing, pest control, picking. That's it? Gao He and Wang Xiaoling looked at each other and didn't know what to say. The two of them work in this industry. Not to mention their ability, they have knowledge and experience. Lu Chen's game creativity is a bit special, but it doesn't sound very attractive. Who would be bored enough to grow vegetables on their mobile phones and computers every day? How can they ensure customer stickiness? It's just that because of their face, the two of them couldn't say it clearly, and their expressions were a bit strange. Lu Chen looked at the expressions of the two of them and continued with a smile. Don't you think it's a little boring? In fact, the key to this game is interactive. Registered users can invite others to become friends, and then help their friends' farms manage and cultivate, or steal their planting results. That's stealing vegetables. In Lu Chen's dream world, Happy Farm once created a miracle in web games. The craze of stealing vegetables lasted for a long time, and it frequently appeared in the media and made a lot of news. Unfortunately, it appeared a little early in the period when smartphones have just begun to develop. Otherwise, it will inevitably become a popular mobile game. It is simple, interesting, interactive, and aimed at the weaknesses of human nature. Lu Chen took this game as the startup project of his new company. First of all, Happy Farm is very creative, and it is guaranteed to be a hit. Secondly, it is not difficult to produce, and it is most suitable for small teams to start a business. Any mobile game will not have a long life, and Happy Farm is no exception, but when the game declines, the foundation of the company will be very solid. At that time, Lu Chen can come up with a lot of creativity, Fruit Ninja, Plants vs. Zombies, Angry Birds. After listening to Lu Chen's detailed explanation of Happy Farm, Wang Xiaoling, who is not a professional, reacted first. This is very interesting. We girls definitely like to play. Girls usually don't like fighting and killing games. Leisure games are the most suitable. Happy Farm is not only a casual game, but also has the attributes of upgrading and competition. The key is that it is extremely interactive. Lu Chen continued, users can bind to QQ so that users can directly use QQ to log into the game, add and invite all their friends to participate together. As the hegemon of online instant communication, QQ has the most extensive users in the world. It is a common practice for many websites and games to use ready-made QQ numbers to register members. Lu Chen Studio has a good cooperative relationship with QQ, so there is no problem in applying for the resources of QQ, and they can even advertise through QQ. Lu Chen has thought of this step. Even Gao He, who is still a little confused, was determined. Old 3, we will do whatever you say. I will listen to you. Wang Xiaoling gritted her teeth and said, Lu Chen, for the investment of the new company, Gao He will contribute 300,000 yuan, and I will contribute 200,000 yuan. The two of us will add up to a total of 500,000 yuan. The proportion of shares will be decided by you. Although it is said to be 2 people, it is actually all the funds that the 2 families can come up with. Lu Chen nodded. Then I will contribute 5 million yuan, accounting for 80% of the shares. You will contribute 10%, and the other 10% will be used as equity incentives for those employees who have made contributions in the future. What do you think? To start the Happy Farm project, 5 million yuan is definitely more than enough. Lu Chen's equity distribution plan is very fair and reasonable, and it is also slightly biased towards Gao He and Wang Xiaoling, because 10% of the incentive equity is equivalent to him, and he also provided the most important creativity. Gao He said without thinking, no problem. Lu Chen smiled and held out his hand. Come, I wish us a happy cooperation. Chapter 412. Countless examples had proven that it was the easiest for friends to run a business together. When 2 or more good brothers ran a business together, they might be able to work together in the beginning. However, when the business was struggling or when they were growing stronger, their interests would cause a rift, causing the once indestructible friendship to lose its luster. Often in the end, the business fails and the brothers become enemies. Lu Chen, who has 3 life memories, deeply understands the truth, so he did not take it all at the beginning. In the most critical and sensitive equity distribution, he did not give too many benefits, which not only took care of Gao He's dignity, but also fulfilled the friendship between the 2 sides. Only such cooperation can last for a long time, and only in line with Lu Chen's original intention. After negotiating the basis of cooperation, Lu Chen will send a financial staff to supervise the funds, and the work of recruiting and opening a stall will be handed over to Gao He and Wang Xiaoling. In this new company, Lu Chen will be the behind-the-scenes boss, and the daily business affairs will be handled by Gao He and Wang Xiaoling for the time being. However, after getting on the right track, professional managers will be introduced to carry out better and more professional management of the company. After talking about business, it is natural to talk about life. Gao He asked the waiter to bring a box of beer and drank with Lu Chen bottle to bottle, recalling the good college days in the past together. Gao He regretted, "It's a pity that the fourth brother is on a business trip, otherwise it would be better if he was here. The four of us haven't reunited for a long time." The last time Gao He and Wang Xiaoling got married, old K did not come, but sent a big red envelope to Gao He as a congratulatory gift. Now everyone has their own careers and it is not easy to reunite. Wang Xiaoling is obviously more interested in the private affairs of the big stars. "Lu Chen, when are you going to get married?" In response to this question, Lu Chen couldn't help but touch his nose and smile. "When are you going to have children with the boss?" Wang Xiaoling shyly, "I asked you first." Lu Chen laughed, "When you have children, then I can consider getting married." For Lu Chen's rascal, Wang Xiaoling could only roll her eyes helplessly. Gao He smirked. Wang Xiaoling couldn't help but pinch him. "Stop laughing. Don't be so wishful thinking. I don't want to have children now. At least wait until we buy a house and settle down." "I think that day will come soon," Lu Chen smiled and said, "Come, let's have a toast." Cheers. Even Wang Xiaoling generously poured a full glass of beer and drank it all in one go after clinking glasses with Lu Chen. Sister-in-law is indeed a heroine. Lu Chen put down his glass and gave her a thumbs up. He then opened his bag and took out a stack of invitations. "Tomorrow night, I will hold a fan meeting at the Zhonghua Automobile 4S flagship store." He handed the invitations to Wang Xiaoling. "There are 7 invitations here. 2 of them are yours and the other 5 can be given to relatives and friends. There are gifts and lucky draws." This time, Lu Chen's new album's nationwide promotional tour was held in the form of fan meetings in Zhonghua Automobile's 4S flagship stores in 7 major cities. Zhonghua Automobile gave strong support. "Oh, there's a lucky draw?" Wang Xiaoling's eyes suddenly lit up and she took it with a smile. "What's the grand prize?" Lu Chen said, "A new Zhonghua R-Class station wagon." Wang Xiaoling, "Ah." She was really shocked. She didn't expect that a small fan meeting could give a grand prize of more than 100,000 yuan. Lu Chen's nationwide promotional tour of The Ordinary Road was fully co-organized by Zhonghua Automobile. Not only did they provide the venue, personnel and prizes, but they even paid a 7-figure marketing fee to Lu Chen's studio. It sounds like Zhonghua Automobile is simply a living lei feng, but they will certainly not do a losing deal. Once the R-Class station wagon endorsed by Lu Chen was launched, with its reasonable price, novel style and excellent quality, it quickly opened up the market among the young middle-class group, and its sales rose steadily. Among them, Lu Chen's commercial for Zhonghua Automobile played an indispensable role, making the brand image of this Zhonghua R-Class station wagon deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, and its market evaluation and reputation were quite good. Other automobile manufacturers saw the potential of this market and were all ready to enter the market. At that time, the competition was bound to be fierce. Therefore, under such circumstances, Zhonghua Automobile naturally attached great importance to the promotion of new models. If a new car sells well, it can easily make hundreds of millions or billions of sales, and millions of marketing expenses are just a drop in the bucket. Therefore, when Lu Chen Studio contacted Zhonghua Automobile, the two sides hit it off. Zhonghua Automobile not only agreed to all the terms of cooperation proposed by the studio, but also added a lot of content. For example, the car prize, which is also excellent publicity. Now Lu Chen's popularity and influence are much stronger than when he was shooting the commercial. The 7 fan meetings in 7 major cities were not only held in the local Zhonghua Automobile 4S flagship store, but also had a car prize. In addition, there were 3 cars for Lu Chen's fan group blog and Whale TV live lottery. The value of 10 cars alone reached 1.5 million. In addition to the car prize, there are computers, mobile phones, shopping vouchers and so on. Wang Xiaoling couldn't close her mouth with a smile. "My sister must be very happy. She and many of her classmates are now your loyal fans." Lu Chen said with a smile, "Then remember to come on time tomorrow night." Both the guests and the host enjoyed the meal. Lu Chen had his own car to follow. He first sent Gao He and his wife home and then told the driver, "Brother Zhang, take me to West Lake. I want to go to the broken bridge." When he was in college in Hangzhou, Lu Chen often went for a walk by West Lake. Although the scenery was already familiar, he still missed it today. He drank a lot of wine in the evening, so he wanted to relive the original feeling. The driver nodded, okay. The driver, Brother Zhang, was introduced to him by Lin Jijia of Flying Stone Records, Lu Chen's new assistant. Li Feiyu no longer holds this position. He has been in charge of online publicity in the studio, managing the live broadcast room, official blog, official post bar and so on. Brother Zhang's real name is Zhang Xiaofeng. He is in his 30s. He has been in this industry for more than 10 years. He has worked with many artists, so he has a lot of experience. His professional quality is really much better than Li Feiyu's. With him around to take care of chores, Lu Chen will undoubtedly be much more relaxed. Zhang Xiaofeng drove all the way to Beishan Road and put Lu Chen down in front of the broken bridge. Chapter 413. Lu Chen likes Hangzhou very much. The reason why he likes it is not only because Hangzhou is the provincial capital of his hometown, but more importantly, he has many good memories in this city. Those memories are imprinted in his heart and can never be erased. He studied in this city, lived here, fell in love here, was lovelorn here, laughed here and was sad here. This city is so charming. It has both the profound heritage of history and the graceful style of Jiangnan, which makes people forget to return, make people unforgettable and make people willing to devote a lifetime to it. And West Lake is the essence of Hangzhou. The broken bridge at night has a different beauty from the daytime. The long embankment is full of people, and the street lamps emitting soft light extend along the embankment to the distance, as if a string of pearls inlaid on West Lake. Lu Chen has walked the broken bridge connecting the white embankment many times, and each time seems to have a different feeling. The evening wind blows the weeping willows, and the moist water vapor dispels the heat of the sun. On the sparkling lake, the cruise ship with lanterns hanging on it sailed by, and pairs of couples snuggled up to each other on the shore, perfectly illustrating what is called a beautiful scenery in the world. Halfway through, Lu Chen sat down on a bench by the side of the road. He stared at the lights of the distant city, and there was something called nostalgia in his heart. He remembered a song. The name of this song is Jiangnan. After sitting quietly for a moment, Lu Chen got up and went back the way he came. None of the passers-by walking on the embankment knew that he had been here tonight. Hangzhou Binjiang New Area, Zhonghua Automobile 4S Flagship Store. This flagship store was completed last year. As part of Zhonghua Automobile's ambitious market expansion plan in Zhejiang Province, its new 4S store is no less than the Mercedes-Benz and BMW flagship stores in the same area, both in terms of size and facilities. Today's day is a bit special. The main hall of Zhonghua Automobile's flagship store in Hangzhou has changed dramatically, and the new cars that were originally displayed have been moved back to the warehouse. It has been rearranged into a party scene with a temporary stage, a background screen, lights, sound, and audience seats. The first stop of the nationwide promotional tour for Lu Chen's new album, The Ordinary Road, was about to be held in Hangzhou. Some fans had already rushed over at 3 p.m. For this fan meeting, Lu Chen Studio sent out a total of nearly 500 invitations to fans in the Jiangsu and Zhejiang region. Of course, they were selected through the blog lottery. The meet and greet started at 7 p.m., but by 5 p.m., the flagship store was already full of people, and the atmosphere was already very lively. Most of these fans were young people, and there were even quite a few teenage boys and girls. Many of them brought along cheering boards, fluorescent signs, and other fan support equipment. Although there were not many people due to the limitations of the venue, it fully reflected the exuberant popularity that Lu Chen currently had. The temporary backstage was set up in the flagship store's office. This time Lu Chen brought a small team with him. There were a total of 5 people, including his assistant. As for the on-site decorations, they hired a local professional company to do it. Isn't it very lively over there? Chen Feier's soft laughter came from the phone, as if there was a breath blowing in Lu Chen's ear. Lu Chen sighed and said, "If you are there you will know." This time he came to Hangzhou to promote the new album. Chen Feier did not come with him because she had other brand endorsement activities. Chen Feier smiled and said, "I can't talk to you anymore. I'm going on stage. Say hello to Andy for me tomorrow." After the fan meeting in Hangzhou today, Lu Chen will go home to visit his mother tomorrow. Speaking of which, he hasn't been home for a long time. The last time Gao he got married, he didn't go back because the schedule was too close. So this time he can't miss it. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing, shook his head and put down the phone. "Lu Chen. What are you doing? You can't go in here." At this time, there was a fierce quarrel in the corridor outside the door. It seemed that a conflict had broken out, mixed with the screams of women and the scolding of assistant security personnel. What's going on? Lu Chen frowned, got up and opened the door to see what was going on. He saw that in the corridor 2 security personnel stopped a girl holding a gift box in her hand. The latter struggled desperately to break free from the other party, and her face was red. Zhang Xiaofeng, the assistant who was guarding the door, saw Lu Chen coming out and immediately explained. She suddenly broke in. Lu Chen suddenly understood. His current popularity is increasing day by day, and the number of fans is also rising steadily. There are passers-by fans, hardcore fans and crazy fans. Some fans are really resourceful. They can even touch the community where Lu Chen lives in Beijing, and then squat outside waiting for him to come out and ask for autographs or photos. This fan is undoubtedly one of them. He doesn't know what method she used to mix with the security personnel and accurately find his location. When the girl saw Lu Chen, she immediately screamed, Lu Chen, I love you." Perhaps it was because she was too emotional, she cried out loud. Unfortunately, it couldn't move the heart of the security personnel. Lu Chen quickly said, "Let her go. Let her come over. It doesn't matter." Lu Chen's attitude towards fans has always been very lenient. Even if some fans' behavior may be excessive, he will try to be tolerant. At most, he will advise them instead of severely reprimanding them. And this girl is only 16 or 17 years old. When Lu Chen spoke, the security personnel could only let go of the girl, and the latter immediately rushed over and hugged him. Her movements are also very skilled. Lu Chen took a small step back because of her hug. He said with a smile, "Hello, what's your name?" The girl looked up and replied with a happy face, My name is Hao Lulu and I'm your fan." "Hello, Sister Hao Lulu," Lu Chen said, "the fan meeting is about to begin. Why don't you go out with me? In fact, there is still half an hour before the start, but it doesn't matter if it's early." Hao Lulu nodded quickly and gave a gift of love at the same time. "This is my gift to you." Lu Chen took it and said, "Thank you." Nowadays, Lu Chen Studio can receive a lot of gifts from fans to Lu Chen every day. There are all kinds of things and of course there is no lack of such gifts. With this little sister Hao Lulu, Lu Chen came to the stage of the main hall. The next moment, the audience burst into enthusiastic cheers. Chapter 4:14. For any star artist, the most important thing to have is not appearance, talent, ability or anything else but fans. Fans determine the status and value of an artist to a large extent, so how to increase popularity and maintain the loyalty of fans is very important for an artist. Lu Chen hasn't been on his debut for a long time, but relying on his outstanding achievements in music and acting, the popularity and number of fans he has accumulated in just over a year is something that most artists can't catch up with. It's just that Lu Chen is very busy with his usual work. He almost never takes ordinary jobs, so naturally, there are fewer opportunities to communicate with fans. He usually uses his blog to interact with fans. This is obviously not enough. A real big shot often runs a fan group for more than 10 or even decades. In contrast, Lu Chen's foundation is still very shallow. The popularity and reputation he currently has are more like a gorgeous house built on the beach, which may collapse completely with a gust of wind and waves. In the extremely competitive entertainment industry, similar situations are not uncommon. Some artists become famous overnight and then disappear quickly. Only a few superstars can always stand at the top. Lu Chen is very clear about his weaknesses, so the promotional activities for his new album are also an important step for him to manage his fans. Lu Chen's fan group is mainly young people. Even if some fans are not sensible enough and willful enough, he will give enough tolerance and kindness. "Good evening, everyone. I'm Lu Chen." Holding Hao Lulu's hand, Lu Chen stood in the center of the stage under the spotlight. He said with a smile, "Thank you for coming to this meeting." There were screams and cheers under the stage. Many fans clapped their cheering sticks hard, and some held up fluorescent signs with Lu Chen's name, setting off a wave of climax atmosphere at the scene. When the sound wave subsided a little, Lu Chen continued, "Everyone must be very strange in guessing who this little sister next to me is, right?" Of course he was talking about Hao Lulu. Hao Lulu's face was red. She was so excited that she couldn't speak. She felt like she was dreaming. In fact, when Lu Chen brought her on stage, many fans were very surprised and curious. Because they didn't know Hao Lulu, they didn't know why Lu Chen was holding her hand. Keeping them in suspense, Lu Chen took the initiative to reveal the mystery. "This little girl is called Hao Lulu. She accidentally got lost in there and I found her. Do any of you know her?" Someone recognized her. "Hao Lulu." Lu Chen took the opportunity to say, "That's great. Please take her back." The fans burst into laughter. Everyone understood that Hao Lulu must also be a fan of Lu Chen. She was the kind of person who dared to barge in recklessly. After sending Hao Lulu off the stage to meet up with her friends, Lu Chen had solved a small problem perfectly. He sat on the high stool that was already prepared, adjusted the wireless microphone on his head, and picked up the guitar next to the stool. Holding the guitar in his arms, Lu Chen bowed his head to test the sound. He stared at the fans under the stage, smiled and said, "Before I start today's performance, I'd like to tell you a little secret. It's about the guitar in my hand." The noise of the fans quickly disappeared, and everyone pricked up their ears to listen to Lu Chen. "This guitar was a gift from my sister on my 18th birthday. In order to buy it, my sister spent all her savings. Although I can afford a new guitar that is 10 times or even 100 times more expensive, in my heart, there is no more precious and cherished partner than it. And it has been with me through the most difficult times. Now I brought it here today. I want to use this guitar to tell everyone that you and friends like you are the most precious and cherished people in my heart. Thank you for all the support you've given me all this time." Lu Chen stood up again, raised his head and said loudly, "The ordinary road for you." While the audience immediately burst into applause, and the accompanying music came at the same time. The MV of The Ordinary Road appeared on the screen behind Lu Chen. "Wandering on the road, do you want to go via? Fragile, proud? I once crossed mountains and seas and walked through mountains and seas of people. I once had everything." This song, The Ordinary Road, opened the prelude to tonight's fan meeting. Although it was the opening promo song, Lu Chen still poured his emotions into singing this song again. Along the way, everything that happened yesterday seemed to be still in front of him. Sometimes, Lu Chen couldn't tell if he was in reality or in a dream, because everything happened so quickly. He used to be confused and afraid that one day he would wake up and find that everything was a dream, and that he was still a nobody struggling at the bottom of Beijing to make a living and pay his debts. But today, Lu Chen had found his true path. He was no longer confused or hesitant. He had his own dreams and ambitions, and he had family and lovers that he needed to protect. Even if the road ahead was bumpy, he was not afraid. "Somehow, this is the only road I have to take." In addition to the hundreds of fans at the scene, a camera set up behind the auditorium was only focused on Lu Chen, recording his image and then transmitting it to the live broadcast room of Whale TV through the internet, appearing on the computer and mobile phone screens of millions of fans. Only a very small number of lucky fans received the invitation and came to the scene. Most fans could only participate in this music event in this way and listen to Lu Chen singing. Whale TV was also the partner of Lu Chen's new album promotion plan. For this and the live broadcast of the fan meeting in 6 major cities, Whale TV officially put a large advertisement on the homepage in advance. Therefore, as soon as the live broadcast began, the number of online viewers easily broke the million mark and quickly moved towards a higher peak. Li Feiyu was in charge of the live broadcast in Beijing, so the atmosphere in the live broadcast room was always in a state of excitement. So, don't look at the small scale of this fan meeting. It's not even as big as an announcement or endorsement event. But in fact, the number of fans who really support Lu Chen is very large. Chapter 4:15. With the song The Ordinary Road as the opening, Lu Chen set off a new wave at the fan meeting. When Lu Chen finished singing the song and put down the guitar in his arms, 2 girls in short skirts ran to the stage with cheerful steps and gave him 2 bouquets of beautiful flowers amidst the warm applause and cheers. "Thank you." Lu Chen smiled and took the flowers from the fan representatives. What he didn't expect was that one of the taller girls suddenly hugged him, tiptoed, and kissed him on the cheek at lightning speed. After the sneak attack, the beautiful female fan turned around and triumphantly made a victory gesture. "Hey!" The cheers of the audience instantly turned into good-natured boos and laughter. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although it was an accident, it didn't matter. Instead, it made the atmosphere of the scene more relaxed and pleasant. Then Lu Chen sang another song, Free as the Wind. This song is not only a work from his new album, The Ordinary Road, but also chosen by Zhonghua Automobile as the promotional song for the new station wagon. Naturally, it should be sung in front. Of course, the most important thing about the fan meeting is not how many songs are sung, but the interaction with fans. "Today this stage is mine and it belongs to you, so next," Lu Chen said, "I want to invite a fan friend to the stage. I will accompany her with the guitar and let her sing a song for everyone. What do you think?" "Good." Of course, the fans said yes loudly and the cheering sticks were banging loudly. "So, which friend who can sing is willing to come to the stage?" Lu Chen's eyes searched the audience. He said with a smile, "If a friend is willing to sing bravely, I will fulfill her little wish here." Brush. One by one their arms were raised high and the fans were very excited. They couldn't wait to rush directly to the stage. Hundreds of fans, whether they can sing or not, basically raised their hands. Lu Chen said with a smile, "So many people? That's really hard to do. Let the computer choose. It's the fairest way." As soon as his voice fell, the image on the big screen behind him immediately changed at an astonishing speed, constantly switching the images of the fans in the stadium, dazzling the audience. This was a computer-controlled randomization program for live images. It was most suitable for live lucky draws or selection. Who could it be? Lu Chen whetted everyone's appetite a little, then decisively said, "Stop." The screen instantly froze. A girl in a green dress with an apple face and big round eyes was picked out by the computer program, and the cameras immediately locked onto her. There were sounds of surprise and pity in the audience. The woman in the green dress who was chosen was very surprised at first, and then she shyly covered her face, probably feeling very embarrassed. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Would you like to invite this friend to come on stage and sing?" Everyone give him a round of applause. Amidst the loud applause, the girl in the green dress walked onto the stage and shyly stood beside Lu Chen. The staff brought her a microphone. Lu Chen asked, "Can you tell us your name?" The girl in the green dress nodded, raised the microphone and said, "Hello everyone, my name is Wuxia. There was another round of applause. Lu Chen asked again, "Then Miss Wuxia, which song do you want to sing?" Wuxia hesitated and asked, "I want to sing the song Meeting, can I?" Meeting? Lu Chen was more or less a little surprised, then immediately smiled and said, "No problem, then this meeting will be." The song Meeting was Lu Chen's work, but it was written for Chen Fei. It had been officially released in the latter's album Woman Flower, and was at the top of the original music chart. This song was most suitable for piano accompaniment, but there was no piano on the scene, so Lu Chen simply replaced it with a guitar. The effect of the performance was secondary, the interaction with the fans was the main thing. What surprised him was that Wuxia sang quite well. Hearing the departure of winter, I woke up in a certain month of a certain year. I think I look forward to, but the future. Her voice was not as beautiful as Chen Fei's, but the tone of this song was very accurate, and the breath and emotion were very in place, with a slightly sad and melancholy style. Under the accompaniment of the guitar, she actually sang a bit of a folk song, which was an alternative interpretation. Tian, after Wuxia finished singing, Lu Chen was the first to applaud with the guitar. "Great." The fans applauded even more enthusiastically. Wuxia was happy and shy at the same time. She bowed and said, "Thank you." Lu Chen nodded and said very seriously, "I think you sang better than the original singer, but you should keep this matter to yourself. Remember not to tell anyone else." Wuxia pursed her lips and smiled. And Lu Chen's voice was clearly transmitted to the ears of everyone on the scene through the wireless microphone. When the fans heard it, they all laughed. The original singer of Meet was Chen Fei. Lu Chen added, "You guys can't say it either." Everyone was overjoyed and the hall of the flagship store echoed with laughter. This kind of happy atmosphere also infected the millions of fans in the live broadcast room, and for a moment the bullet screen was like rain. He actually sang better than Chen Fei. Haha, I don't know what Fei will think when he hears it. I think Chen will kneel on the washboard when he goes back. Who would kneel on the washboard now? If he wants to kneel, he can only kneel on the motherboard. The one in front is too ruthless. Too ruthless plus one. After everyone laughed, Lu Chen waved his hand and said, "Let's stop joking. Then Miss Wuxia, do you have any wishes that you want to fulfill?" Of course, the premise is that it's reasonable and I can do it. Wuxia pursed her lips and said, "My sister is also a fan of yours. Unfortunately, she didn't get an invitation. She really wants a signed album from you. Is that okay?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "Of course, there's no problem. I'll give you 2 limited edition albums." He motioned to the staff on the sidelines, who quickly sent 2 limited edition albums. Coming to Hangzhou for publicity, Lu Chen certainly prepared gifts for his fans. This limited edition album was one of them. In addition to the signed CD, there were commemorative USB drives, exquisite figurines, key rings, and so on. At present, it has been booked out on the crowdfunding website. Wuxia was overjoyed. This undoubtedly made her, who had received 2 limited edition albums, the object of everyone's envy. This also made fans look forward to the interactive session that would follow. They wanted it too. Chapter 4:16. The second person chosen to go on stage was a male fan. The fan named Li Lu was in his 20s. He was thin and had an ordinary appearance. He was the type that wouldn't stand out in a crowd. His mannerisms were gentle. But the song he chose was Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart, and he sang it very well. Running forward, facing the cold eyes and ridicule. How can you feel the vastness of life without going through hardships? Fate can't make us kneel and beg for mercy, even if our arms are covered with blood. At the climax of the chorus, this ordinary-looking man's singing was heart-wrenching. His voice was high and full of passion. It made people's blood boil. Among all of Lu Chen's works, Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart was undoubtedly a very unique song. This song wasn't too popular in the general public. It was only popular for a period of time when it first came out. Because its chorus was too high, it was difficult to cover it. If it was down-tuned, it wouldn't be able to sing the deep feeling at all. Naturally, it wouldn't become a popular work in KTV. However, on the internet, Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart had always been the favorite of hot-blooded youths. Many professional and non-professional people accompanied it with animations or videos, making it extremely popular. Those who could sing Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart and sing it well were all talented people. Li Li's performance of this song might not be professional enough, but his attitude and feelings were completely fine. It deeply affected everyone present. So when he finished singing this song, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Many fans even stood up and cheered for him. Good singing. Lu Chen put down his guitar and gave this fan a strong hug to express his admiration. Patting Li Li's shoulder, Lu Chen turned around to face the fans and sincerely explained, "I'm here to solemnly declare that Yu Xiaowei and Li Li's friend were randomly selected by the computer. They really weren't hired by me. They really weren't." Yu Xiaowei's Encounter was very good, and Li Li's Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart was equally good. The two fans who were chosen to go on stage had wonderful performances, which surprised even Lu Chen himself. But this wasn't arranged in advance. Both Yu Xiaowei and Li Lu were his true fans. He then asked Li Lu, "Tell me, are you the one I hired? If not, why did he sing Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart so well?" Li Lu was dumbfounded and didn't know how to answer. Seeing his expression, everyone immediately burst into laughter, and someone shouted loudly, "We believe you." Lu Chen quickly cupped his fists. Thank you for believing in me." The laughter grew louder. Lu Chen smiled and said, "I won't joke around anymore." "Then my friend Li Lu, what wish do you want to fulfill?" he asked Li Lu. Li Lu hesitated for a moment before he replied in embarrassment, "Lu Chen, I've seen your videos on the internet, and I feel that you're very skilled. So can you show me your skills here?" This request was a little special. However, it was normal for boys to like fighting. Li Lu was thin and small, so it was easier for him to dream of being a hero. And among the fans at the scene, there were also people who wanted to see the world in chaos, so they immediately cheered loudly. When Lu Chen was filming Full House of Romance in Jeju Island, the video of him fighting 6 Japanese bodyguards for the crew was widely spread on the internet, and even had more than 1 million views on video websites in the United States. Li Lu was talking about this video. As a otaku who liked music and games, he had watched this video dozens of times. So this time he was lucky to attend Lu Chen's fan meeting, and he was lucky enough to be on stage. Li Lu wanted to see Lu Chen show his skills in person to satisfy his little wish. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "I can show you, but I need your cooperation and it's a little dangerous. Are you afraid?" Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Li Li's eyes suddenly lit up, and he immediately shook his head and said, "I'm not afraid." Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's good." He called the staff on the scene and said, "Please bring me a drink, Coke will do." There was a vending machine in the flagship store, and a can of Coke was only 3 yuan. Everyone didn't know what Lu Chen was selling, and everyone's curiosity was aroused. The Coke was quickly sent over. Lu Chen waited and said to Li Lu, "It's not too late for you to regret it now." The audience was silent. Li Lu clearly felt the change in the atmosphere. He seemed a little nervous, but he shook his head to show that he didn't give up. "That's good." Lu Chen put the Coke in his hand and said, "You stand here and don't move. Put this Coke on your head, understand?" Li Lu swallowed his saliva and carefully put the Coke on his head. Lu Chen took 2 steps back, looked at him with a sharp gaze and asked, "You really don't regret it?" It would have been better if Lu Chen didn't ask, but Li Lu became even more nervous. He should have understood a little and his body was trembling slightly, but at this moment it was hard to get off. He braced himself and replied, "I don't regret it." "That's good." Before Lu Chen's voice fell, his left foot suddenly took a step forward, and his right leg lifted up. He twisted his body and kicked at Li Li's head with lightning speed. Li Lu was shocked. He didn't have time to dodge and his mind was completely blank. Bang. There was only a muffled sound, and the coke that was originally placed on top of Li Li's head was kicked by Lu Chen in the air. Countless water droplets and foam splashed everywhere, and under the illumination of the lights, it reflected thousands of crystal lights. The speed of Lu Chen's leg was too fast. This side kick was very beautiful and very accurate. It did not hurt Li Lu at all, it was completed in the blink of an eye. Wow! There was a cry of surprise from the audience. In fact, most people did not completely see the whole process, but Lu Chen's strong skills had been vividly displayed in this flying kick, especially the scene where he kicked the Coke can, which really made people gasp in amazement. Some of the fans present were not only chasing Lu Chen, but also participated in other artists' fan meetings, but they have never seen such a wonderful performance. Many people were shocked. In the Whale TV live broadcast room, the number of barrage brushed out in an instant reached a terrifying level. Who can tell me what happened just now? I didn't see it clearly either. Quickly replay it. Lu Chen Big is too powerful, the flying kick is too cool. Real Kung Fu instant kill taekwondo. I want to worship Lu Chen Big as my master and learn this kick is enough. Poor Coke Ken, accompanied by a barrage and rain-like gifts, all kinds of props including aircraft carriers were brushed out. If the previous video of Lu Chen defeating the Japanese bodyguard gave people a more or less unreal feeling, then now he showed his skills in front of hundreds of people at the scene and millions of fans on the internet, which was undoubtedly the best proof of his strength. And it was extremely cool and handsome. In the exclamations and screams of the audience, Li Lu, as the person involved, finally woke up. He couldn't help but touch his head and found no missing parts or bleeding head, only then did he breathe a big sigh of relief. This was too exciting. No wonder Lu Chen repeatedly asked him if he wanted to regret it. If he was asked to do it again, he really might not dare to agree without thinking. Lu Chen asked the staff to bring over a limited edition album set and a few pieces of tissue paper and sent them to Li Lu. Just now, there were coke drops and foam splashed on the latter's body. "Thank you for your cooperation." Lu Chen smiled and gave Li Lu a thumbs up. "Good job." Li Lu scratched his head embarrassedly and left the stage with the gift that Lu Chen gave him. Although he didn't fully understand just now, he could go back and watch the replay of the live video. As one of the protagonists, Li Lu was honored. On the stage, Lu Chen took a long breath and said, "It's really not easy to satisfy everyone's wishes, so let's pick the last friend to go on stage." According to the program arrangement, the interactive segment needed to choose 3 fans to go on stage, then Lu Chen would sing 2 more songs and finally the grand prize for tonight would be drawn. So who would be the last lucky person? Everyone's eyes were focused on the big screen in the background, where the picture was changing rapidly. Stop. After waiting for about 10 seconds, Lu Chen decisively stopped. The picture froze instantly. The live camera's lens was locked on the corner of the auditorium, where a woman in a long dress was sitting in a very inconspicuous position. Her skin was as white as snow, her hair was draped over her shoulders, and her pretty face was mostly covered by a pair of big fashionable glasses. When her image appeared on the big screen, the woman in the long dress took off her glasses and showed a charming smile to the camera. The next moment, the audience was shocked and the fans were going crazy. Chen Fei. Countless people shouted her name at the same time. It turned out to be Chen Fei, who secretly hid in the corner to watch Lu Chen's performance. This was definitely the biggest accident and surprise tonight. Lu Chen was also surprised, but soon he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Revenge. This was definitely a naked revenge, because last time when Chen Fei promoted her new album in the Huhai Mecha Culture and Arts Center, Lu Chen also sat in the audience and played a low-key fan, giving her a big surprise. Now Chen Fei repeated the same trick. When she talked to him on the phone before the fan meeting, she said that she was doing endorsement activities in the capital, but in fact she had already sneaked to Hangzhou and colluded with the staff to make a sneak attack. If it wasn't revenge, what was it? However, this kind of revenge was so warm and sweet. Chapter 417. The Hangzhou Zhonghua 4S flagship store was boiling. Lu Chen's live broadcast room on Whale TV was also boiling. Chen Fei-er's appearance undoubtedly became the biggest highlight of Lu Chen's new album promotion fan meeting tonight. The surprise came so fast that it caught people off guard. Chen Fei-er, it's really Chen Fei. Strange, I don't feel surprised at all. Not surprised +1. I remember the last time my Fei's birthday, my Chen seemed to be playing a fan in the audience. Well, it's like this. My Chen and my Fei really know how to play. Aha, there must be a love song duet. For a fan, the happiest thing is to see their idol with their own eyes, and what's even happier than that is to see two idols. The fans sitting in the flagship store tonight are undoubtedly happy. Not only did they feel the strength and charm of Lu Chen on the scene, but also a heavenly queen of the singing industry. Chen Fei. In the shouts of the audience, Chen Fei-er walked to the stage and took the microphone from the staff. She hugged Lu Chen first, causing the cheers of the audience to rise one after another. Lu Chen said with a smile, "You lied to me so hard." This common line in the 8 o'clock melodrama made many fans overjoyed. Chen Fei-er chuckled and said, "This is called giving someone a taste of their own medicine. I always remember it." The two looked at each other as if there was no one else in the whole world. This dog food was sprinkled. Whether it was at the scene or in the live broadcast room, the single dogs all felt a deep malice. It was simply unbearable to watch. Fortunately, Chen Fei-er still fully considered their feelings. She turned around and said to the audience, "Tonight I am also a fan of Lu Chen. What do you think about my singing his song?" "Your eyes. The most romantic thing." The audience responded like a tide, and the fans shouted the names of their favorite songs at the same time. Chen Fei-er listened quietly for a moment before he smiled and said, "How about this? I'll sing a song with Lu Chen. How about that?" "All right." Of course the fans cheered loudly. Chen Fei-er turned around and said to Lu Chen, "Then let's sing Because of Love." Lu Chen nodded. He had sung this song Because of Love once when he did a radio program, but this song was a duet between a man and a woman. The two had never sung it in public. Today was the first time. The accompaniment was still the guitar in Lu Chen's hands. He gently plucked the strings and played the prelude. Facing the person he loved the most, the song seemed to flow from the bottom of his heart. "I'll give you a CD of the past. Listen to our love at that time. Sometimes I suddenly forget that I still love you." Tonight, Chen Fei-er was very beautiful. As usual, she did not wear heavy makeup. The light makeup looked more elegant under the light, and the plain white dress set off her figure extremely perfectly. She looked at Lu Chen with deep affection in her star-like eyes. "I can't sing a song like that anymore. Every time I hear it, I blush and avoid it, although I often forget that I still love you." Although this song has not been officially recorded as a single and Chen Fei-er has only sung it with Lu Chen a few times after getting the score, but standing on this stage for hundreds of people at the scene and millions of fans on the internet, the two people's interpretation of the work seems to have gone through thousands of times of practice, and there is a natural tacit understanding and agreement. It was the kind of tacit understanding that belonged to a real couple. The guitar accompaniment was almost non-existent. The deep warmth of Lu Chen and the ethereal grace of Chen Fei-er, the two different voices blended together, echoing and setting off each other. What the audience heard was the purest sound of music that was close to the essence. The hall was silent. Many fans even held their breath, for fear that the slightest noise would affect the atmosphere of the scene. They stared unblinkingly at Lu Chen and Chen Fei-er on the stage. It was like a pilgrimage. Words were the voice of the heart and songs were the song. A real classic did not need too many gorgeous decorations. What could really touch people's hearts were the sincere, warm, deep, and restrained feelings. "I still love you." After the last chorus, the audience was silent. Lu Chen and Chen Fei-er looked at each other and smiled. Everything was said without words. After only a moment, the applause suddenly exploded. The audience all stood up. They clapped hard, shouted loudly, and shouted the names of Lu Chen and Chen Fei-er. The sound waves set off shattered the glass around the hall. The atmosphere of the scene reached its peak at this moment. At this moment, the number of online viewers in Lu Chen's live broadcast room on Whale TV had exceeded 3 million, setting a new record for Whale TV. It was believed that the Whale TV officials were already smiling crookedly at this time. The publicity effect brought by the live broadcast of Lu Chen and Chen Fei-er was enough to cover millions of marketing expenses. The gifts from the aircraft carriers covered the entire screen. Due to the large number of people sending messages and gifts, the server of Whale TV was overwhelmed, and there was a temporary lagging phenomenon. This also faithfully reflected the current popularity of Lu Chen and Chen Fei-er. After a long time, the hall finally quieted down. No one knew who shouted in the crowd, "It's time to make a wish." Everyone suddenly laughed. After the first two selected fans sang on stage, they both made a small wish to Lu Qin. Both of their wishes came true. Now it was Qin Feier, which was very interesting. Make a wish. Make a wish. Make a wish. Many fans who wanted the world to be in chaos immediately shouted, quickly forming a huge sound wave. Qin Feier smiled and said, "Since everyone is so enthusiastic, then I will ask Lu Qin for a small wish. What do you think I should ask him to do?" The fans immediately came up with ideas. Some shouted, "Kiss him." Some shouted, "Propose." Few of them were reliable. Of course, Qin Feier couldn't really listen to their nonsense. She thought for a moment and said, "I think. I hope." The heavenly queen of the music industry was keeping everyone in suspense at this time, which made people very anxious. As if thinking very seriously for a moment, she said to Lu Qin, "I'll let you sing a song." Alas. The whole audience sighed in disappointment. "It's not interesting." Qin Feier smiled and added, "But it must be a new song that no one has heard before." New song? That's more like it. Chapter 4:18. If it were any other singer or artist, unless they had prepared in advance, Qin Feier's request would definitely make things difficult for them, or even make it impossible for them to step down. Writing a song was actually very easy. As long as you learned the basic skills, you could put together a song. But writing a song was very difficult. The birth of a good song not only needed a burst of inspiration, but also daily accumulation and learning and a little bit of luck. How could it be taken out at any time? But Lu Qin is different. His talent and ability in creation are well known both inside and outside the circle. Wonderful or classic works are constantly being produced in his hands, which makes people really convinced. Tian, the author of this article, is a Chinese novel. Even so, being able to hear his new work here tonight and become the first listener of a new song was also something worth being happy and joyful for the fans on the scene. Facing Qin Feier's wish and the expectations of his fans, Lu Qin asked with a smile, "Can I say no?" Qin Feier shook his head and looked very determined. "No." Lu Qin surrendered. "Okay." Qin Feier smiled happily. "Great." The two people echoed each other on the stage and the audience under the stage laughed. Lu Qin took a deep breath and said, "Before I sing this new song, I want to say a few words." The scene quickly quieted down. Even Qin Feier stepped aside and gave the stage to Lu Qin. Lu Qin continued, "For me, Hangzhou is a very special place. I finished college here and spent a very good time in my life. The people here and the scenery here are all worthy of nostalgia." Many of the fans present were Hangzhou locals, or studied or lived in Hangzhou. The feelings and affection that Lu Qin had for Hangzhou made them feel very proud. In fact, I'm also half a Hangzhou native, so I've put the first fan meeting for my new album's promotional tour here. Although my current job and new home are in Beijing, when I'm old and can't sing anymore, I'll choose to retire here. Applause rang out unexpectedly, a sign of recognition for Lu Qin. Lu Qin finally said, "The name of this song is Jiangnan. It's for you and for the beautiful Hangzhou." Jiangnan. Speaking of Jiangnan, who didn't know Hangzhou and Westlake? This made the audience look forward to Lu Qin's new song and new work even more. Lu Qin continued to accompany the new song with the guitar. The wind was sticky here. Stuck to the passers-by's thoughts. Here the rain twined into a thread. Pestering us to stay in this world. Having you by my side is fate. Fate was written on the stone of 3 lives. Love is a million sweet. I would rather be buried on this day. Circle, 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 circle. Every day, every day. Look deep into your face, the tenderness of anger, a gentle, complaining face. Jiangnan was the most beautiful place, with lakes and mountains, misty rain, green bricks and white tiles, willows. At that time, a young man wearing thin spring clothes, riding a horse on a slanted bridge, a young girl looking back and smiling, endless romantic stories. What this song Jiangnan sang was the dream that lingered in the hearts of countless talented scholars and beautiful women. Its melody was beautiful and moving, and it also had the shock of a sudden peak. Every word easily evoked people's yearning and nostalgia for this beautiful land, as well as the longing for the love story that had been passed down through the ages. Lu Qin's interpretation of Jiangnan reflected his powerful singing skills and brilliant skills, but the feelings integrated into the singing were so real and infectious. Although it was a brand new piece, it still brought the listener into that special atmosphere. We who don't understand the torment of love and hate, think that love is like the fickle wind and clouds. Believe that one day of love is equal to forever. At this moment, time freezes. We who don't know how to show gentleness, think that dying for love is just an ancient rumor. The sorrow of separation can be as painful as it can be, when the dream is buried in the misty rain of Jiangnan. Only when the heart is broken will you understand. In essence, Jiangnan was a love song, singing about the unchanging love that had existed for thousands of years. However, its melody and style were destined to not be an ordinary love song. Perhaps people who listened to this work for the first time didn't know, but in the future they would definitely know a word about music. This word was China style. The hundreds of audience members at the scene didn't speak or get distracted. They were already intoxicated by Lu Chen's singing, as if they were in the drizzle unique to Jiangnan, and in front of them was an ink painting. At this moment, it was enough to enjoy the music. Until Lu Chen finished singing. "Thank you." He held his guitar and bowed to express his gratitude, and all the fans in the audience stood up and applauded. They were also grateful to Lu Chen for giving everyone a good song, a really good song. The applause lasted for a few minutes. Lu Chen asked Chen Fei, "Do you like it?" Chen Fei's eyes were bright and she nodded vigorously. She really liked this song. "And the person who sang this song?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "If you like it, can you help me do one more thing?" Chen Fei was curious. "What is it?" Lu Chen said, "It's very simple. Help me draw tonight's grand prize." Only then did the fans remember that there was a lucky draw at tonight's meeting, and the contents of the grand prize had been announced. It was a new Chinese station wagon worth more than 100,000 yuan. Thinking of the attractive grand prize, everyone couldn't help but get excited. Lucky draw. The crowd's voice was so enthusiastic that Chen Fei couldn't find a reason to refuse. The staff sent the prepared lucky draw box to the stage. All the fans who participated in tonight's meeting had an invitation letter. The corner of the invitation letter was cut off when they entered the venue. The corresponding number was printed on it, and then they were all placed in this box to draw the prize. In addition to the grand prize, there were also first, second, and third prizes. The prizes included computers, mobile phones, limited edition albums, etc., mainly provided by China Automobile. Together, Lu Chen and Chen Fei first drew 23rd prize winners, followed by 10 second prize winners. The fans whose number was called were happy and disappointed, because they were lucky to be drawn, but it also meant that they had no chance of winning the grand prize. The automobile grand prize was the last to be drawn, and the winner was a teenage girl. She was so happy on the spot, laughing and crying. She was so excited that she didn't know what to do. The atmosphere at the scene also reached a new climax at this time. The first stop of Lu Chen's fan meeting to promote his new album in Hangzhou was undoubtedly a perfect success. Note, Jiangnan lyrics, Li Ruixuan Chen Shaoqi / composer, Lin Junjie. Chapter 419. After the end of the promotional event in Hangzhou, Lu Chen's team rushed to the second stop, Shanghai City. Lu Chen himself returned to his home in Binhai with Chen Fei. His current career is booming and his work is getting busier and busier. His mother is unwilling to retire early and live in Beijing, so except for the Chinese New Year, it is difficult to see her. Lu Chen is a filial child, so he planned to go home to see his mother while taking advantage of this publicity trip to Hangzhou. Now he is with his girlfriend, so he can also make his mother and sister happy and enjoy the warmth of family. However, because the itinerary was arranged, Lu Chen and Chen Fei only stayed in Binhai for one day. Then Chen Fei returned directly to Beijing from Binhai, while Lu Chen went south to meet the team in the deep sea. As a celebrity couple, it is normal for them to separate. Without any accident, the news of Lu Chen's fan meeting in Hangzhou appeared in the entertainment section of major media. Although it didn't grab the headlines, it was introduced in a lot of space. Naturally, the appearance of Chen Fei as a surprise guest, and the number of viewers of the online live broadcast of the fan meeting broke a record, which inevitably poured a spoonful of hot oil on the already quite popular online live broadcast industry. So, although it was nominally the promotion of Lu Chen's new album, in fact, the two sponsors, China Motors and Whale TV, were the real winners, especially Whale TV. With this record-breaking live broadcast, they have fiercely brushed up a wave of popularity and have a great tendency to return to the peak. If you ask what changes Lu Chen's appearance has brought to the pan-entertainment industry, first of all, he has brought a new trend of pop music with his unparalleled creative talent. Big boosted the morale of domestic original works, and at the same time, it has also increased the treatment of original music songwriters. In fact, the two TV series created and starring by Lu Chen have become popular both at home and abroad, creating a new model for domestic TV series, making the industry begin to seriously reflect on the bad atmosphere of imitation and plagiarism in the past. It is inevitable that there will be film and television entertainment companies, with the successful influence of Autumn in My Heart, and Full of Romance, will seriously produce sincere works. There was also a live streaming platform. People inside and outside the circle know that although Lu Chen officially made his debut through Singing China, his popularity accumulation and expansion largely relied on the platform of Whale TV. Moreover, after he became successful and famous, he did not leave Whale TV behind, but became more and more popular. According to information leaked from within Whale TV intends to re-sign an endorsement contract with Lu Chen. The endorsement fee will reach 8 figures, and Lu Chen will earn hundreds of thousands of yuan from the platform every month. One must know that the current Lu Chen did not have many hours of live broadcast time on Whale TV. The income from the endorsement fee and the share of the gifts was enough to make those second and third tier star artists extremely jealous. It was precisely because of his success precedent that more and more star artists appeared on major online platforms. Of course, the big stars who were not short of money and popularity were dismissive of this, but they could not resist the artists who were struggling to find a breakthrough in the entertainment industry, especially young singers. On the other hand, with many star artists frequently opening live shows on the internet, they have attracted a large number of fans and audiences to support them, which has led to the development of the entire industry. Some people in the online live broadcast industry once joked that everyone should pool money to give Lu Chen a big medal. Without his success, the value and popularity of the industry would not have risen so fast. But apart from these superficial or deep influences and changes, some people are more concerned about Lu Chen's talent in music creation. On the night that Lu Chen went to the deep sea, the well-known blogger and music critic, Donghu Lu's Cultivator, of the Waves blog made a profound comment on the song Jiangnan that he sang at the Hangzhou fan meeting. The song Jiangnan is very different from Lu Chen's previous works. The author believes that this is a breakthrough attempt by him, as an outstanding singer-songwriter, to seek novelty and change in original pop music. For the author, this work is simply a great surprise. It can be said to be one of Lu Chen's best works this year. He has unearthed a lot of our local traditions and integrated them into his own music, thus forming a distinct and unique style. Although the author has only heard a simplified version without arrangement and accompaniment, imagine if it is matched with traditional folk music to carry the theme of the work. The charm of this song will increase exponentially. It is very worth looking forward to. The author dares to assert that when the completed version of Jiangnan comes out, Lu Chen's position in the pop music world will reach a new height, and if his future works can continue this style, it will be enough to lead a new trend again. The blog post of Donghu Lu's Cultivator, praising Lu Chen did not cause much response on the blog, because there were many articles commenting on Lu Chen's works on the blog, and it was not the first time that Donghu Lu's Cultivator had commented on Lu Chen's original songs. However, in the pop music world, some people were still keenly aware of a certain smell. The future is always unpredictable. Whether a butterfly can set off a storm with a flap of its wings remains to be seen and proven by time. The second stop of Lu Chen's new album promotion was in the deep sea, the third stop was in Tianfu, and the fourth stop was in Shaoqing. He led his team around a big circle in China, traveled thousands of kilometers, traveled to 7 major cities in a row, and finally returned to Beijing on the eve of the official release of the album. At this time, the crowdfunding goal of Lu Chen's new album, The Ordinary Road, on the online crowdfunding website has been achieved, and several of the projects have exceeded 1,000%. In addition to the number of records ordered by Xinhua Publishing House, the new album has locked in sales of millions. Because the sales were too hot, the official release date was also delayed by a few days. On September 1st, Lu Chen's new album The Ordinary Road was fully launched for sale. On that day, the digital record sales on QQ Music exceeded 200,000. There is no doubt about the success of this new record, and people are looking forward to what heights it can reach in the end. It is worth mentioning that the cumulative sales of Chen Feier's album Woman Flower, produced by Lu Chen, has exceeded 4 million, easily winning the achievement of 4 Diamond, and is not far from the 5 million crown. If Lu Chen's album can also reach the achievement of crown, it will undoubtedly create a story in the pop music world and make countless people talk about it with relish. On September 22nd, Qin Feier's Fei Tong Fan Xiang solo concert was held in the Beijing Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium. Chapter 420. The Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium in Beijing was built in 1994 and completed in 1999. As the main venue of the Beijing Olympic Games in 2000, it was the largest in the world at that time. More than a decade later, this magnificent stadium is still among the world's first class. A lot of equipment was replaced during the renovation and maintenance in 2013, and the internal facilities are still not outdated. Generally speaking, those who can hold a solo concert in the Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium are either world-class stars or domestic big shots. There is a popular saying in the pop music industry: if you have the ability, go to the Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium to sing. On September 22, Qin Feier's Fei Tong Fan Xiang solo concert was held in the Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium. This was not the first time she sang in the Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium, but from the Queen of Sweet Songs to the Queen of Love Songs, this concert, which was nearly a year late, was very important to her. In fact, the preparatory work began a few months ago. The top performance company in Beijing was hired, and they took the shortcut to get the approval permit to perform in the Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium. As a place that had once attracted the attention of the world, the Olympic Five Ring Stadium usually did not receive many performances. There were strict requirements in all aspects. The first rule for celebrities who were qualified to stand on the stage inside was that they could not have any obvious misdeeds. For example, people who cheated, drove drunk, took drugs, or visited prostitutes, they should get as far away from them as possible. Therefore, although the entertainment industry was noisy and chaotic, the real top stars often paid great attention to their personal image. Most of them could keep themselves clean. Otherwise, there would be many places that closed the door to them. The Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium could accommodate a total of 120,000 spectators, but because of the overall layout, no more than 100,000 tickets could be sold. But this was already a very amazing figure. According to the lowest price of 128 yuan, 100,000 tickets would be 12.8 million. Of course, it was difficult to sell all 100,000 tickets. It would be very successful if more than 70% of the seats were occupied. Only a very small number of the top stars would be able to have the grand occasion of a full house. Imagine standing on a brightly lit stage with 100,000 spectators cheering for you. The flashing screens were as dazzling as the stars in the night sky. How dazzling would that be? For a singer, this was probably the highest goal in life. Tickets for Qin Feier's Fei Tong Fan Xiang solo concert began to be pre-sold more than a month ago. With a certain number of complimentary tickets, it could reach about 80% of the seats, which meant that 80,000 spectators would be present. Although there was still a gap from the domestic record of more than 100,000 audience/single concert, it was enough to make 99% of singers feel inferior and envious. The concert officially started at 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, most of the seats were already occupied. It was not easy to hold a sing-along at the Olympic Stadium. The security issue alone involved many aspects. It was not something that could be settled with money. Connections and resources were indispensable. To put it bluntly, Qin Feier had the ability and qualifications to sing in the Olympic Fifth Ring Stadium. If it were Lu Qin, he would also have the ability, but he was still a little less qualified. Of course, Lu Qin would appear on the stage that everyone was watching tonight. As a special guest. It was normal for stars to invite friends in the circle to support them when they held a concert. The identity of the guest was often very mysterious. It was strictly kept secret before the appearance as a highlight of the publicity, and then it would surprise the audience. However, for the first concert of Qin Feier's solo concert in Beijing, the guest was confirmed to be Lu Qin. It was only kept secret for the subsequent concerts in Shanghai, Shanghai, and Chongqing. Therefore, fans knew in advance, which was one of the reasons why the concert tickets sold so well. The number of Lu Qin's fans was not much smaller than that of Qin Feier. Although there was a big overlap, it was still able to attract some of Qin Feier's fans. At this moment, the stadium was already bustling with people. Countless light sticks in the audience seats were like stars in the sky. Fluorescent screens with Qin Feier's name were held high, as if they could summon Qin Feier in advance. In the backstage dressing room, Qin Feier, who had finished dressing, was sitting on the sofa with Lu Qin. The first costume of the heavenly queen of singing was a gorgeous long dress. She rarely put on makeup, which gave her a different kind of sexy beauty, but her little hands were a little cold. "What's wrong?" Lu Qin held her hand and asked with concern, "Are you nervous?" Qin Feier shook her head, then nodded and said, "A little bit. I'm afraid I'll make a mistake. For a heavenly queen of singing who had made her debut for more than 10 years and held many concerts, she shouldn't have such emotions. But the significance of today's concert was particularly different for Chen Feier. In the past, Chen Feier was the famous queen of sweet songs, but now she had transformed into the queen of love songs. Despite the fact that Woman Flower had sold more than 4 million copies, this concert was still one of the most important milestones in her singing career. If she screwed up, it would be an unforgivable mistake for Chen Feier. She had been preparing for this concert for a whole year. So Chen Feier was nervous. Lu Chen understood. He thought for a moment, got up and went out to get a guitar. It's still early. I'll sing a song for you. Chen Feier smiled and said, actually, you don't have to do this. I can control myself. Well, you can sing. She felt the sweetness from the heart. Because of Lu Chen's gentleness and consideration, Lu Chen sat down next to Chen Feier with the guitar in his arms. After testing the sound, he plucked the strings. He sang the song When You're Old. When you're old, your hair is white and you're drowsy. When you're old and you can't walk anymore and you take a nap by the fire and you remember your youth. How many loved you in your youth? How many admired your beauty, whether they were sincere or fake? But only one person still loves your pious soul. Chen Feier listened quietly, feeling the emotions contained in the lyrics. Unconsciously, the anxiety in her heart disappeared without a trace, and something warm filled her heart. She couldn't help leaning her head gently on Lu Chen's shoulder, smelling the familiar smell. She wanted time to stop at this moment forever and never go forward again. Until the door of the room was knocked. The assistant opened the door and poked his head in. Sister Feier, it's almost time to go on stage. Chen Feier stood up. She seemed to have been reborn. Her face was glowing, and there was no longer any fear in her bright eyes. She was full of confidence. This was the real Chen Feier. Chapter 421. In the drizzling rain, an intercity express train painted in blue and white sped along the straight railway track. On both sides of the track were high-rise buildings half hidden in the rain and mist, highlighting the prosperity and greatness of Shanghai, the most economically developed city in South China. In the A1 business seat of the number 2 carriage, Lu Chen was holding a copy of Entertainment Express, and reading it attentively. The Entertainment Express was the largest business daily newspaper in China. Today, with the internet industry as its main reporting material, the survival of this newspaper, which mainly reported on the pan-entertainment industry, relied on accurate and in-depth reports, timely and explosive content, and unique observation of news angles. The protagonist of today's headline of the Entertainment Express was impressively the person who was holding it now. The man standing behind the heavenly queen of the music industry. The thick black and huge font gave people a very shocking feeling, and the rather sensational title was enough to attract people to read the content and see what the editor was trying to sell. This article, which occupied more than half of the front page of the Entertainment Express, first reported the great success of Chen Feier's solo national tour, which was enthusiastically pursued by countless fans in Beijing, Huai, Huaqing, Shanqing. The total audience of the 7 concerts exceeded 500,000, which was the most popular national tour this year. After introducing Chen Feier's solo performance, the editor of the article changed the direction of the pen, and used a sophisticated and humorous pen to reveal the key to Chen Feier's gorgeous transformation from the queen of sweet songs to the heavenly queen of love songs. The man standing behind the heavenly queen of the music industry was naturally Lu Chen. The article asserted that the sales of Chen Feier's transformational work Woman Flower album rebounded, infinitely approaching the achievement of 5 million crown, and thus pushing her position in the pop music industry to the peak, was the biggest contributor to Lu Chen. Lu Chen not only wrote many popular love songs for her, but also used the 2 popular TV series, Autumn in My Heart, and Full of Romance, to bring her career to a new high point. There was no doubt about his importance to Chen Feier. The headline article also detailed Lu Chen's path to success. In the end, it jokingly said, "Do you want to become a diva like Chen Feier? Then find a man like Lu Chen." After reading the headline, Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He folded the newspaper again and placed it on the table in front of him. On September 22, Chen Feier successfully held his first solo concert of the year at the Beijing Olympic Stadium. He appeared as the only guest and sang 2 love songs with Chen Feier. After that, Chen Feier went to the capital, Huai, Huaqing, and other places. Lu Chen accompanied him. Until October 17, the last concert ended in Xinjiang. After the two spent a busy and sweet time together, Chen Feier was invited to perform in a long historical TV series produced by CCTV, Song of the Golden Age, while Lu Chen went south to the Xiangjiang Special Zone. He was now on the intercity express train from Shanghai City to Jiulong in Xiangjiang. Pulled by a powerful electric locomotive, the long express train passed through Luohu and entered the new territories of Xiangjiang. Xiangjiang, formerly known as Hong Kong, is located in South China, east of the Pearl River estuary, on the coast of the South China Sea, north of the Deep Sea, west of the Pearl River, facing the Macau Special Administrative Region across the Pearl River estuary, and the other two sides are adjacent to the South China Sea. Xiangjiang is also one of the most prosperous international metropolises in the world. The whole territory is composed of three major regions, namely Hong Kong Island, Jiulong Peninsula, and New Territories. The total land area under its jurisdiction is 11,032 square kilometers. As of the end of 2016, the total population is 13.52 million, ranking second in the world in population density. It is the world's third largest financial center after New York and London. Known as Nuremberg, it enjoys a high reputation in the world. It is also an important shipping hub and one of the most competitive cities in the world and the Asia-Pacific region. For 20 consecutive years, its Economic Freedom Index has ranked first in the world. This huge and prosperous city has always been famous for its excellent public security, free economy, and sound legal system. It has the reputation of charm city, food paradise, and shopping paradise. It is also one of the wealthiest, most economically developed, and has the highest standard of living in the world. Half a month ago, Lu Chen applied for permanent residency in Hong Kong and Macau Special Administrative Region, which is commonly known as the Special Economic Zone Green Card. Although he did not transfer his citizenship with this thin certificate card, whether it is buying property or investing in business in Xiangjiang, he will receive the same treatment as the residents of the Special Administrative Region. And this time, Lu Chen's main purpose in going south to Xiangjiang is to complete the establishment of Lu Chen Xiangjiang Film and Television Studio. In fact, as early as late August, Lu Chen Xiangjiang Film and Television Studio had already been registered in Xiangjiang. However, including the registration and approval, the rental of the office building, the recruitment of employees, and so on, they were all completed by Wan Xiaoquan, who came to Xiangjiang earlier. However, as the core figure of the studio, many important documents need to be personally signed and checked by Lu Chen. Wan Xiaoquan had long wanted Lu Chen to come to Xiangjiang, but because Lu Chen was too busy with work, it was delayed. Therefore he had to go now, or else Wan Xiaoquan would jump off the building to protest. For this trip to Xiangjiang, Lu Chen only brought Zhang Xiaofeng as his assistant. It could be said that he traveled light. The speed of the intercity express was very fast. It only took 20 minutes to arrive at Xiangjiang's Jiulong Terminal Station. From here, one can take the Xiangjiang subway that extends in all directions and then go to various areas. Mr. Lu Chen, welcome to Xiangjiang. After the staff of Jiulong Station checked Lu Chen's ID, they gave him a rather charming smile. I wish you a happy day in Xiangjiang. Thank you. Lu Chen took back his ID and walked out with Zhang Xiaofeng. Outside the exit passage, Lu Chen saw Wan Xiaoquan, who came to pick him up. After more than 2 months, seeing this middle-aged director again, Lu Chen almost couldn't recognize him. Compared to the previous depression and gloominess, Wan Xiaoquan, who started a new life in Xiangjiang, seemed to be full of energy. His whole person seemed to be 4 or 5 years younger, full of confidence and vitality. Lu Chen. Seeing Lu Chen coming out from inside, Wan Xiaoquan immediately greeted him with a smile on his face and said, "Finally you're here." Lu Chen blushed with shame. "Director Wan, I'm really sorry. I was too busy a while ago." In order to make him come to Xiangjiang, Wan Xiaoquan had called him more than 10 times. Wan Xiaoquan shook his head with a smile and said, "Let's not talk about this." He pulled the girl beside him over and said, "Let me introduce you. This is little Zhen." Li Zhen, Li as in dawn, Zhen as in pearl. They are your personal assistant and secretary in Xiangjiang. Chapter 422. Li Zhen was 25 years old and graduated from Hong Kong Chinese University. She had 3 years of working experience and once worked with a second-tier star in Hong Kong. She had a good reputation in the circle, so she was poached by Wan Xiaoquan. Wan Xiaoquan was no stranger to Hong Kong. He had a special economic zone green card 10 years ago and even planned to retire in Hong Kong. He also had some connections with the local entertainment circle. So after coming to Hong Kong with the funds provided by Lu Qin, Wan Xiaoquan quickly got into the role and pulled up a team of people through headhunting or recruitment, showing his ability outside of being a director. However, Wan Xiaoquan's ability in this area was limited, so he needed Lu Qin to come and host. After all, his real job and passion was still shooting movies. Li Zhen was the assistant secretary that Wan Xiaoquan specially prepared for Lu Qin. This delicate and pretty girl had a round face and big eyes. When she smiled, there would be a shallow dimple on her right cheek. Let's not talk about her ability first, at least she was pleasing to the eye. "Hello, Mr. Lu Qin, I am your assistant Li Zhen." After Wan Xiaoquan introduced her, Li Zhen bowed to Lu Qin and said, "Please take care of me." As a local of Hong Kong, Li Zhen's Mandarin was very standard, almost no accent could be heard. This was also one of the important reasons why Wan Xiaoquan chose her. The official languages of Hong Kong's Special Administrative Region were Chinese and English, and the native language of Hong Kong people was Cantonese, so many locals and even many young people could only speak Cantonese. It was very difficult to communicate with the mainlanders. Of course, with the increasing influence of the mainland economy on Hong Kong, the number of people who spoke Mandarin in Hong Kong was increasing day by day, especially those who did business with the mainland. It was very troublesome if they didn't speak Mandarin. Li Zhen was undoubtedly one of the representatives. Lu Qin smiled and reached out his hand and said, "Hello, Miss Li." This name reminded him of Sister Li in the capital. The two names only had a difference of one word, it was also fate. "You can call me Zhen." Li Zhen shook hands with Lu Qin with a blushing face, her heart beating faster for a few seconds. She was not a young girl, nor a newcomer who had never seen the world. It was just that the new boss in front of her was young and handsome, which inevitably touched her special feelings as a woman. After working in the studio, Li Zhen had a detailed understanding of her new boss. She knew that Lu Qin was a rising star in the domestic pop music and film industry, and Lu Qin's girlfriend was Qin Fei. If the current popularity and fame of Lu Qin and Qin Fei in China were not much different in Hong Kong, Lu Qin could not compare with his girlfriend at all in Hong Kong, and Fei was far from the top local stars. The reason for this was very complicated. If Li Zhen hadn't changed this new job, she wouldn't know what kind of person Lu Qin was. But after hearing Lu Qin's works on the internet and watching Autumn in My Heart, starring him, Li Zhen also became a fan of Lu Qin, so it was inevitable that she was excited to see her idol. It must be noted here that last year's Autumn in My Heart had not been broadcasted in Hong Kong. And, Zhen, I'll have to trouble you in the future. Lu Qin nodded and introduced Zhang Xiaofeng to her. "This is my assistant, Zhang Xiaofeng." Facing Zhang Xiaofeng, Li Zhen was much more natural and unrestrained. "Brother Zhang, please guide me in the future." Zhang Xiaofeng was not good with words, so he shook hands with her a little awkwardly. "Hello." Wan Xiaoquan said, "Well, let's talk in the car. Let's go to the studio first." The car was already waiting outside. This Mercedes-Benz business car was specially purchased for Lu Qin's Hong Kong studio. It could accommodate 7 people and was very expensive. However, this was a very necessary expenditure. It was impossible to run a business in Xiangjiang without a car. Furthermore, even if the car was of poor quality, it would be very easy to be looked down upon by others. In this metropolis, luxury cars from all over the world were gathered, and Rolls-Royce was the most numerous. The Mercedes-Benz business car was already very low-key. In the future, there would definitely be another car for Lu Qin to match his identity and status. Although Xiangjiang returned to China in 1969, the policy of one country, two systems allowed Xiangjiang to maintain a unique development trajectory. Therefore, whether it was the local customs or laws and regulations, they were all very different from the domestic. It could even be said that they were two different worlds. The address of Lu Qin's Xiangjiang Film and Television Studio was in the commercial center of Xiangpun, not far from Xiangjiang University. This area gathered the main TV stations of Xiangjiang, including the headquarters of wireless and satellite TV stations, as well as big and small film and television entertainment companies and record companies. It was the core and essence of Xiangjiang's entertainment circle. Crossing the Victoria Harbor along the West Kowloon Highway, they entered the commercial area, which was full of high-rise buildings. The business car carrying Lu Qin and others stopped in front of a 50 to 60-story high building. The studio was on the 59th floor of this Rongjin building, in an office with an area of about 200 square meters. Compared to the Lu Qin studio in Beijing, the area of Xiangjiang studio was undoubtedly much smaller, but the rent was not cheap at all. It was more than 100,000 yuan per month, which was equivalent to a monthly rent of 500 square meters. And this was considered cheap in Xiangjiang, where every inch of land was extremely expensive. East of Xiangpun were the Upper Ring, Middle Ring and Golden Bell land. The same area of office buildings with a rent of 2 to 3 million yuan per year could be found everywhere. The high rent was among the highest in the world. Wan Xiaoquan had only been in Xiangjiang for 2 months, but the expenses of renting a house, getting approval, hiring people, buying a car, etc., had been spent like water. Of course, this money was not spent in vain. In addition to the necessary investment, the early investment also allowed Lu Chen to easily obtain a special economic zone green card. Otherwise, even if he was a well-known artist in the country, it would take a long time and effort to apply for a green card. As for ordinary people, it was currently already very difficult to apply for a green card, not to mention the more difficult immigration. The economic prosperity, coupled with a large population and special environment, and then there were investors from the mainland investing in Xiangjiang's real estate market. Therefore, the average house price in Xiangjiang was the highest in the world, surpassing that of Beijing. A 200 square meters office building for a newly established star studio was actually already considered very luxurious. There were also many local artists in Xiangjiang who opened a studio, but only a few could rent such a big office in this commercial area. As for the current employees of the studio, aside from Wan Xiaoquan and Li Zhen, there were also 7 people, including the receptionist, ordinary clerks, financial cashier, network management, marketing planner and so on. There was also a director of the studio, Chen Wenxiang. Chapter 423. Although Lu Chen's Xiangjiang film and television studio had only been established for a short time, everything here seemed to be orderly and regular. None of the recruited employees was idle. They were all busy preparing for the first movie that the studio was going to shoot. Although it was small, it was complete. The most important thing was that the atmosphere in the studio was very good, giving people a sense of vitality, which made Lu Chen very satisfied. Wan Xiaoquan was not greedy for credit. He gave the credit to Chen Wenxiang, the director of the studio. Lu Chen's Xiangjiang studio still had very few employees. Of course, Lu Chen himself was the big boss, and Wan Xiaoquan served as the artistic director. When it came to specific work affairs, it all depended on this thin middle-aged man. Chen Wenxiang was not good-looking. He had high cheekbones, a tight and narrow chin and a pointed mouth and monkey cheeks. His skin was dark and thin and he was no more than 1.6 meters tall. He looked a little funny in a wrinkled suit. However, his eyes were full of spirit. His eyes were bright and he gave people a feeling that he was tough and difficult to deal with. On the way to the studio, Wan Xiaoquan deliberately told Lu Chen about the new director. Chen Wenxiang was a descendant of the first generation of immigrants in Xiangjiang. He grew up in a small fishing village in the New Territories. After graduating from high school, he came out to join the society. He washed dishes and swept the streets. Later, he accidentally entered the film and television circle. He started as a handyman, ran errands for others, was an assistant, an agent, and even worked as a director of a TV station. His work experience could be said to be very rich. He was a role similar to that of a jack of all trades, but he had never really stood out. His career was bumpy and his life was not smooth. Chen Wenxiang's wife died very early, leaving him and his only daughter to rely on each other and work hard to make a living. Wan Xiaoquan poached Chen Wenxiang through the introduction of a friend. For an outsider like Lu Chen's studio, which had no connections and foundation in Xiangjiang, it would undoubtedly avoid a lot of unnecessary troubles and take fewer detours, and it would be easier for them to integrate into the local circle. Of course, the price of poaching people was not low. In addition to the necessary high salary, Wan Xiaoquan also promised to give Chen Wenxiang's daughter a role in the first movie produced by the studio. Chen Wenxiang's daughter, Chen Si, was currently studying in an acting training class and wanted to enter the entertainment circle. This daughter was Chen Wenxiang's lifeblood. Uncle Chang, thank you for your hard work. After Wan Xiaoquan's introduction, Lu Chen took the initiative to extend his hand to Chen Wenxiang. I'm new here, so I'm not familiar with everything here. Please give me some pointers. Lu Chen would never care about his boss's face and style to pretend to know something he didn't know. His frank and enthusiastic attitude clearly surprised Chen Wenxiang. He quickly bowed and shook Lu Chen's hand, saying, "Boss, you're too kind. It's my honor to serve you." Compared to Li Zhen, Chen Wenxiang's standard of Mandarin was really far behind. Not only was it stiff, but it also had a strong Cantonese accent. If one did not listen carefully, one would not be able to understand it. Lu Chen smiled and said, Uncle Chang is too polite. I wish us a happy cooperation. These two sentences were said in Cantonese, and it was very standard Cantonese. Qin Wenxiang was suddenly stunned. Even Wan Shaoquan and Li Zhen, who were next to him, were very surprised. Wan Shaoquan had known Lu Qin for a period of time. Qin Wenxiang and Li Zhen had seen his relevant information and knew that he was from Zhejiang province. He had just graduated from university last year and majored in computer science. After graduation, Lu Qin had been developing in the capital and had never been to Xiangjiang. Today was the first time. Then why was he so fluent in Cantonese? Of course, Lu Qin knew what everyone was thinking, but he couldn't say that his ability to speak Cantonese came from Su Wenba's memory, could he? He explained, I learned Cantonese from a classmate from Chaos Han. It's not bad, right? Qin Wenxiang gave a thumbs up and sincerely praised, Boss, this is your Cantonese. There's nothing to say. He didn't care how Lu Qin learned Cantonese. What was important was that there would be no obstacles in communicating with Lu Qin in the future. He was worried about this problem at first, fearing that it would affect the communication between the two parties. Qin Wenxiang knew much more about Lu Qin than Li Zhen. Through the information obtained from various aspects, Lu Qin had already made a big name for himself in the domestic entertainment circle. His future was limitless. What he currently lacked was qualifications. Lu Qin chose to come to Xiangjiang to establish his new career. Qin Wenxiang felt that this was an opportunity for him. As long as he grasped this relationship, even if the film here failed in the future, it would be easy to bring his daughter to develop in China. Compared to the entertainment circle in Xiangjiang, the domestic world was really vast. Therefore, when Qin Wenxiang jumped to Lu Qin's studio, he sincerely wanted to make some achievements. I've seen many celebrities from the mainland. Your Cantonese is the best. It's not a problem for you to be a real Xiangjiang person. Lu Qin smiled faintly. Qin Wenxiang's attitude towards him was certainly sincere and respectful, but his words inadvertently revealed the superiority of the Xiangjiang people over the mainlanders. Qin Wenxiang was like this. What about the big stars and high-level figures in Xiangjiang's entertainment circle? Although it was a good opportunity, it wasn't easy for him to expand his business here. Lu Qin had already been mentally prepared for this. He couldn't have all the good things in the world. If Xiangjiang was a new battlefield, he would not be afraid of any challenges. A life full of challenges was an interesting and meaningful life. Wan Shaoquan timely said, Let's go to the small conference room to talk about the new film. The most anxious person about the film was not Lu Qin. It was the director who had not sat in the director's chair for several years. He had gotten Lu Qin's script when he was in the capital and had basically studied it thoroughly. From the perspective of filming, it's not difficult. In the small conference room of the studio, Wan Shaoquan spoke confidently in front of the projection screen. What was shown on the screen was the draft of the new film that he had drawn himself. Every stroke was undoubtedly permeated with the director's painstaking efforts. All the scenes can be shot in the Lion Rock Film and Television City. In addition, as for the special effects, several local special effects companies in Xiangjiang are fully capable of producing them, including the soundtrack, dubbing, and so on. There is no need to go back to the mainland to find people. The main problem is still the crew or partners. Chapter 424. Xiangjiang was originally an important colony of the United Kingdom. After the handover in 1967, it became one of the 3 special administrative regions of China, retaining the original political system and social structure, which would not change within 100 years. Next year would be the 50th anniversary of Xiangjiang's return to the motherland. In the past 50 years, Xiangjiang's economy had been prosperous and developed. With finance and trade as the pillar industry, Xiangjiang's per capita GDP had always been in the forefront of the world, and many world-class rich people had emerged. However, the different political culture also created the social atmosphere of Xiangjiang that was different from that of the mainland. In recent years, this international metropolis had shown a kind of aloof and independent attitude, instinctively rejecting the political, economic and cultural influence from the mainland. The social situation was very complicated. Xiangjiang's entertainment circle was also a self-circulating and relatively closed circle. Although there was communication with the domestic entertainment circle, there was a clear distinction between them. The locals of Xiangjiang usually only cared about the local artists and lacked interest in understanding the domestic stars. Xiangjiang's media would also selectively ignore the entertainment news from the domestic and only report the entertainment gossip from Hong Kong, or add in the news from Taiwan, Japan, Korea, Europe and America. All of these were the embodiment of pride and independence, Even if more and more people in the entertainment circle were constantly seeking opportunities to develop in China, and more Xinjiang artists appeared on domestic TV and movie screens. The Xinjiang government cooperated with the domestic state administration of radio, film and television to jointly formulate new regulations to support Xinjiang's film industry. They encouraged any film production company registered in Xinjiang to apply for preferential and support policies, and share the domestic and Xinjiang film market. On one hand, it was to revive the declining Xinjiang film industry, and on the other hand it was to break the barrier. However, the specific effect still had to be proved by time. As one of the first batch of people to enter Xinjiang to register and establish a film and television organization, if Wuxia Studio wanted to smoothly develop here, it was far from enough to rely on preferential and support policies. After decades of development, Xinjiang's film and television industry had already formed an inherent pattern of rules, which formed a natural barrier for those outsiders, and it was not easy to break it. Therefore, for Wuxia to shoot a film in Xinjiang, it was not easy to hire a few cameramen, a sound recordist or a crew and so on. First, he had to understand, be familiar with and finally understand how to use the rules here. Chen Wenxiang's suggestion was very simple, and that was to find a powerful local film and television company to co-shoot a new film. This was the fastest and easiest method, but it would be more troublesome to find out which film company was involved. In the 80s and 90s, there were countless local film and television companies in Xinjiang. The number of movies and TV series produced every year could be said to be astonishing, and they were continuously sold to China and Southeast Asia. Although the glory days were gone, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Major film companies such as Jinrong, Wang Corporation, and Polaroid still firmly controlled the market and held the right to speak in the film and television industry. Chen Wenxiang did not have a high opinion of these old film companies. Even if they all had a glorious past, it would be very difficult for them to work alone or find a third or fourth-rate film company to steadily get a place to export to the mainland. The new problem is that big companies such as Jinrong, Wang and Polaroid are very difficult to deal with. Outsiders like Wuxia Studio are also a newly established small enterprise. Even if they agree to cooperate, the conditions they offer are very high, even to the extent of harsh. This was the problem that troubled Wan Shaoquan the most. And if this step was not taken well, then the road ahead would be very difficult. Wuxia could see that Wan Shaoquan was worried about this. He thought that this was probably the reason why Wan Shaoquan pulled him here, so he comforted him, "Don't worry, let's think of a way slowly." Since Wuxia was here, he definitely wanted to help. Although he was not familiar with the people and places in Xinjiang, he could still contact a few people in the circle through his friends, such as Chen Fei, and Tan Hong. Chen Wenxiang did not say anything because the level of cooperation in a film was very high, and he was familiar with the middle and lower level circle. He had no right to speak to the higher level of the film and television industry, so of course he could not speak carelessly. They discussed in the meeting room for 2 hours and drew up a preliminary follow-up plan and work arrangement. After the temporary meeting, Chen Wenxiang said to Wuxia, "Boss, it's your first time in Xinjiang. Can you let me treat you to Xinjiang's food today? It can be considered as a welcome dinner for you." Wuxia smiled and said, "If you treat and I pay, then there's no problem." How could he let his subordinate treat him to a meal for the first time? Of course he had to give face to Chen Wenxiang. Chen Wenxiang was stunned. Wan Shaoquan laughed and said, "That's it then, let's go." He reached out and patted Chen Wenxiang, who was still a little confused, and said, "Brother Chang, we don't have to save money for the boss. The song he writes for others costs more than $1 million. Li Zhen, who was sitting at the side, let out a soft cry. She looked at Wuxia with stars in her eyes. Writing a song for others costs more than $1 million? Wouldn't he be able to buy a house in Xinjiang by writing a few dozen songs? Chen Wenxiang could not believe it. As far as he knew, the top songwriters in Xinjiang only cost 200,000 to 300,000 yuan per song. Wuxia was several times more than them. Wuxia was very good at original music, but this price was too amazing. Wuxia did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Uncle Chang, don't listen to Director Wan's nonsense. Let's go eat." The place Chen Wenxiang took Wuxia to was the Typhoon Shelter in Causeway Bay. Together with Li Zhen and Zhang Xiaofeng's 2 assistants, there was a total of 5 people. Everyone had dinner on a special cruise ship. While enjoying the beautiful scenery of Victoria Harbor, they tasted the first-class seafood. The real local specialties made Wuxia full of praise. After eating this sumptuous seafood meal, Chen Wenxiang asked, "Boss, which hotel are you staying at tonight? Have you booked a room?" Wuxia said, I'm not staying in a hotel. My friend borrowed a house in Repulse Bay for me to stay. Brother Zhang will send me there first and then you can arrange a place for him to stay. A house in Repulse Bay. Chen Wenxiang secretly sighed. That was the high-end residential area of Xiangjiang. Mansions worth hundreds of millions could be found everywhere. He did not know which friend of Lu Chen had borrowed a house in Repulse Bay to stay. He quickly said, "No problem, then I will wait here for Xiaofeng to come back. I will take him to the staff's apartment. The room has been arranged." Chapter 425. In the night, the black Mercedes-Benz MPV drove out of the typhoon shelter of Causeway Bay, entered Xiangdao Island through the Aberdeen Tunnel, and arrived at the Repulse Bay area in the east. In just 10 minutes the scene was very different. Repulse Bay was located in the south of Taiping Mountain in Hong Kong Island. It was near the mountain and the sea. The bay was crescent-shaped and was known as the first bay in the world. It also had the reputation of Hawaii of the East. It was the most beautiful and representative bay in Hong Kong. It was not only the tourist area of Hong Kong, but also one of the famous high-end residential areas in Hong Kong Island. The area was full of luxury houses, surrounded by many five-star hotels, ocean parks, golf courses, large supermarkets and other commercial facilities. Lu Chen's residence in Hong Kong was in the Wanjin apartment at number 268, Repulse Bay Road. Your husband really had the foresight to buy a house here early. Wan Xiaoquan, who was sitting in the passenger seat, said to Lu Chen half jokingly and half seriously, "With the current housing prices here, I'm afraid I can't afford it even if I don't eat or drink for the rest of my life." Originally, Lu Chen asked his assistant Zhang Xiaofeng to send him here. Although it was Zhang Xiaofeng's first time in Hong Kong, the MPV had perfect navigation equipment, so he didn't have to worry about going the wrong way. However, Wan Xiaoquan was a little worried, and there was something else he wanted to say to Lu Chen, so he followed the car. Lu Chen said with a smile, "If things go well here, I think you will be able to afford it soon." The housing prices in Repulse Bay were extremely expensive. When Chen Feier bought this house with an area of only 137 square meters 10 years ago, she spent all her savings at that time and also applied for a bank mortgage loan. Now 10 years had passed, the market value of this house had increased at least 10 times. In terms of investment income, it was difficult for any project to compare with it. As early as more than 10 years ago, domestic celebrities began to buy properties in Hong Kong, and some even directly moved here, which also played a certain role in the rise of Hong Kong's housing prices. Chen Feier had bought 3 houses in Xiangjiang in total. The other 2 houses were bought by her when the real estate market rose sharply. This house in Repulse Bay was her favorite. She kept it for her vacation. Now, it just so happened that Lu Chen got a bargain. Otherwise, if he rented such a big house with such a good location in Xiangjiang, the monthly rent would be quite a shocking figure. Wan Xiaoquan shook his head and said, "If you buy one here, you can buy 2 or 3 in the capital." Lu Chen said, "Let's not talk about the house first. It's not good to have a car in Hong Kong. How about this, you and Uncle Chang go and buy 2 BMWs and put them into the studio's account. They will be your work car." Lu Chen had never been a stingy person, especially now that a TV series could bring in more than 100 million yuan. Buying a few cars was nothing at all. Wan Xiaoquan was the art director of Lu Chen's Xiangjiang studio and the director of the new film. Chen Wenxiang was the director of the studio. To a large extent, the two of them represented the image of the studio. If he didn't even have a decent car, he would also lose face. People in Xiangjiang were very particular about face. Even the managers of debt-ridden companies would still drive luxury cars. Otherwise, there would be no way to talk business with others. Wan Xiaoquan was surprised and moved. That's not good. Wan Xiaoquan usually needed a car, but Lu Chen gave him a BMW, which inevitably made him a little scared. After all, he came to Xiangjiang to set up a film studio and spent money like water. There was still no sign of shooting. He always felt that he didn't work hard enough and felt sorry for Lu Chen. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Nothing bad. It's settled. Let's go to the 4S store tomorrow." Seeing Lu Chen's stubbornness, Wan Xiaoquan had to accept Lu Chen's kindness. In his heart, he was more and more determined to work for Lu Chen. After experiencing the fickleness of human nature and the fickleness of the world, Wan Xiaoquan deeply understood how rare and precious Lu Chen's trust and kindness were for him. It was also the best opportunity for him to start over. The Mercedes-Benz stopped in front of a high-rise residential building. Lu Chen got out of the car and said to Zhang Xiaofeng, "You go back with Director Wan first. I'll go up by myself. Pick me up at about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." Zhang Xiaofeng nodded and said, "Okay, boss." After saying goodbye to the two, Lu Chen walked to the apartment building alone. The residential buildings along Repulse Bay Road were all high-end communities, so the security was very tight. However, Lu Chen had the access card given to him by Qin Fei, and he had already informed the property management company here when he was in Beijing to update the security password and fingerprint information, so he entered the gate smoothly. Taking the elevator straight to the 58th floor, Lu Chen found the room 5801 where he lived. The brocade apartment had a total of 60 floors, which was also one of the characteristics of Hong Kong. The area was narrow and the usable area was small, so the buildings were built very high to make full use of the space. Repulse Bay was considered very good. The high-rise buildings in the real public community were densely packed to a terrifying degree. Beep. Lu Chen pressed his fingerprint on the door lock, and the red indicator light immediately turned green, and the door opened with a click. When he pushed the door in, the lights in the porch and the lights in the living room automatically lit up. The soft light evenly illuminated the whole space and it gave a very warm feeling. Lu Chen casually closed the door, took off his shoes and observed his new house. This luxury apartment had a layout of 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms and 2 bathrooms. The decoration was very exquisite, and the designer's intention and creativity could be seen everywhere. Especially through the large floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room, one could directly see the distant view of the bay. The room was clean and tidy. It had already been cleaned by appointment. He walked over, pushed open the glass partition door and walked to the big balcony. The gentle sea breeze blew, making people feel relaxed and happy. He looked up at the bright moon in the sky, saw the sparkling blue sea, and the long beach was dotted with bonfires. This scene made Lu Chen have the idea of living here for the rest of his life. Ring ring. Just then his cell phone rang. Lu Chen picked it up directly. "Hello?" Qin Fei's sweet and moving voice came from the phone. "How is it? Are you home?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "I was just about to call you. I just got home." Qin Fei asked, "How is this apartment?" Lu Chen sighed and said, "It can't be better, so I decided not to work in the future. I'm going to live off you." Qin Fei laughed and said, "Nonsense, as long as you like it. I'm afraid you won't be used to it." Lu Chen asked, "How is it on your side?" Qin Fei complained, "It's very hard, much harder than filming Autumn in My Heart, and full of romance." Chapter 426. Qin Fei was currently filming CCTV's new annual drama, Xingshi Changxing. The story was set in the Jingguan period of the Tang dynasty. She played the role of a beautiful singer. The TV series was 60 episodes long, with an investment of 170 million yuan. A large number of domestic stars, including several big shots in the film and television circle, were gathered in the show, so it attracted the attention of the industry. Although Qin Fei was not the first heroine, she had a lot of scenes, so it was impossible to finish shooting in a short time. Moreover, the director of the show was known for his strict requirements for actors in the industry. "I regret taking this show," Qin Fei complained in a sweet voice. "If I had known this, I would have gone to Hong Kong with you to shoot a movie. Must be very interesting." When she was filming Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance, the whole crew was around her and Lu Chen, and the service was meticulous. Moreover, the requirements for shooting an urban idol drama were low, so it was naturally much easier. In the crew of Xingshi Changxing, Qin Fei was not the first heroine. It was undoubtedly a fool's dream to expect others to accommodate her. However, this drama was very important for Qin Fei, who was developing in an all-round way in film, television, and singing. Once it was successfully filmed and broadcast next year, it would be of great help to improve her status in the circle. Therefore, although she complained, she still had to shoot the drama seriously. Lu Chen knew this, so he acted as a psychologist to comfort her. The two of them talked to each other on the phone, and the sweet phone call lasted for more than an hour. It was not until there was a low battery tone that Qin Fei seemed to wake up from a dream and said quickly, "Oh, my phone is almost out of battery. I forgot to tell you one thing. I have a friend in Hong Kong. You should know her. Her name is Xu Jing. I called her yesterday and mentioned you. She will probably send an invitation tomorrow to invite you to a charity dinner. There will be a lot of people in the circle." Lu Chen understood as soon as he heard this. He started his film career in Hong Kong without any foundation, so it could be said that he was unfamiliar with the people in the place. Qin Fei obviously wanted to bring Lu Chen into the circle of Xiangjiang through his relationship with Xu Jing. As long as he knew more useful people, his future development would undoubtedly be much smoother. The so-called charity banquet was actually a place for socializing. If one wanted to enter such an occasion, he or she would need a guide. Xu Jing was the one leading the way. Lu Chen didn't know Xu Jing, but he wasn't unfamiliar with her name. From the late 1990s to the beginning of the new century, this Xiangjiang singer, who debuted as a young girl, was very active in the pop music world. She had released many albums that sold well and won countless fans with her youthful and beautiful image and sweet voice. However, at the peak of her career, Xu Jing married into a wealthy family at a young age, and then disappeared from the music industry, which made people sigh. However, 2 years ago, Xu Jing suddenly announced that she had divorced and returned to the music industry. However, things were different now. After she stepped onto the stage again, she did not come up with any outstanding works. She was still famous, but her popularity was almost gone. In other words, she was an old singer of the past. In fact, Xu Jing was only 37 years old this year. For a powerful singer, the real golden age was far from over. However, Xu Jing was, after all, an all-powerful figure in the music industry of Xiangjiang. In addition, she had more than 10 years of life as a rich wife, so she had a wide range of contacts in all aspects. Chen Fei introduced Lu Chen to Xu Jing, undoubtedly because of the latter's connections. Chen Fei had known Xu Jing for a long time. When she bought the house in Repulse Bay, it was Xu Jing who recommended her. She used her connections to get a discount, so they were quite friends. After Xu Jing retired from the music industry, as long as she came to the capital, she would always find Chen Fei to have tea and chat. After ending the call with Chen Fei, Lu Chen's mobile phone was already very hot. After watching the scenery on the balcony for a while, Lu Chen was ready to go back to his room to take a shower and sleep, but his mobile phone rang again. He answered the phone without thinking, smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Did you forget anything else?" Lu Chen thought it was Chen Fei calling again, but he didn't expect that the voice coming from the phone was very strange. "Hello, are you Mr. Lu Chen?" Lu Chen was stunned. "Yes, may I ask who you are?" The other party said, "I'm Xu Jing. I don't know if Fei has mentioned me to you. Sorry to disturb you." Lu Chen suddenly understood. "Hello, Sister Jing. I was talking to Fei on the phone just now and she mentioned you." Xu Jing spoke Mandarin very well without much Hong Kong accent. She said softly, "No wonder I couldn't get through to you just now. It's like this. I want to invite you to the charity dinner scheduled for the night after tomorrow at the Shangri-La Hotel. I wonder if you can do me the honor?" Lu Chen quickly said, "It's my honor. I just came to Xiangjiang to develop my career. Please take care of me in the future, Sister Jing. I will definitely attend the dinner at the Shangri-La Hotel." "That's good," Xu Jing said with a smile. "I'll send someone to send the invitation to your company tomorrow morning. I'll confirm with you first." "Okay, thank you." After a few polite words, Lu Chen hung up the phone. Lu Chen didn't expect Xu Jing to call him at this time. Through this conversation, he had a good impression of Xu Jing and believed that she should be a friend worth making. This made Lu Chen somewhat look forward to the dinner the night after tomorrow. If there were no accidents, it would be his first step in the Xiangjiang entertainment circle, a very important step. After taking a shower in the bathroom, Lu Chen went to bed to rest. The next day he got up early in the morning, put on a set of sportswear and went out to run. In the early morning, there were many people exercising along the beach of Shallow Water Bay. Some were running and some were playing ball. Lu Chen ran a few laps back. When he returned home, he was already sweating profusely. After taking a shower and changing into new clothes, Zhang Xiaofeng called. Lu Chen went downstairs again, got in his car and went out for breakfast. Xiangjiang was a food paradise. There were all kinds of breakfast, and the most famous was the Cantonese breakfast. There were also several old tea house chain stores in the Shallow Water Bay area, so he didn't have to worry about not being able to find a place. After breakfast he went to the studio. It was exactly 9 o'clock. As soon as Lu Chen arrived at the office, Li Zhen took out a beautiful invitation and handed it to him. "This was just sent by Miss Xu Jing this morning." "It was sent here so soon?" Lu Chen was a little surprised. In fact, Li Zhen was even more surprised. She didn't expect Lu Chen to have a relationship with Xu Jing. Chapter 427. Xu Jing was very famous in Hong Kong's entertainment circle. She became famous overnight when she debuted at a young age, and her first album was a double platinum hit. She was called the Little Queen of the music industry. When her career was at its peak, she bravely retired and married into a rich family. She became the idol of many female artists. After getting married, Xu Jing no longer set foot in the entertainment circle, but her influence in the circle had always been there, especially the Happy Angel charity fund she founded, which was supported by many stars. A few years ago, Xu Jing's divorce case with the rich young master had caused a sensation in Hong Kong. After being single again, Xu Jing returned to the music circle. Although she was no longer as glorious as she used to be, her connections and reputation in the circle were still there. Xu Jing often held charity banquets to raise money for her angel fund, and the people invited were all celebrities and stars in the circle of Hong Kong's upper class. Those small singers and artists couldn't get in even if they sharpened their brains. Lu Qin had just arrived in Hong Kong, but Xu Jing took the initiative to send an invitation letter, which made Li Zhen have a new view of her boss's background and strength. She asked with concern, "Boss, did you bring clothes for the banquet this time? Do you want me to send them to the dry cleaner for re-ironing?" Lu Qin said with a smile, "No, fortunately you reminded me. I'll buy 2 sets today." He came to Hong Kong with light luggage this time. He only had a few sets of ordinary clothes in his carry-on luggage. He really didn't wear a suitable dress for Xu Jing's charity banquet. If it weren't for Li Zhen's reminder, he wouldn't have thought of it. Li Zhen had completely entered the role of a personal assistant and secretary, and she considerately suggested, "It's too late to make a custom order now. I know several master tailors have to make a reservation 1 or 2 months in advance. Boss, what brand of clothes do you like?" If he couldn't make a custom order, he could only buy ready-made clothes. Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, "Armani." Lu Qin liked Armani suits and coats the most, and he often wore them in China. Li Zhen clapped her hands. "Armani's headquarters in Hong Kong is in Central. I know the location." Lu Qin said with a smile, "Let's go together. Let's buy a car first and then clothes." Li Zhen was surprised. "Boss, you want to buy a car?" Lu Qin nodded. "Buy a BMW for Director Wan and Uncle Chang first. They need it very much." Li Zhen was rendered speechless. She had come out to work for a living and had worked for several bosses. She had also seen a lot of different bosses. Li Zhen has never seen a boss as forthright and generous as Lu Qin. There were stingy people everywhere in the entertainment industry. Some stars were even so stingy that they couldn't bear to buy lunch boxes for their assistants. This was no longer news. As soon as Lu Qin arrived, he gave 2 BMWs to the 2 managers of the studio. Moreover, he said it as if he had bought 2 pieces of clothes, which really made Li Zhen secretly click her tongue. Was it really that easy to make money for Chinese celebrities? Li Zhen looked at Lu Qin with stars in her eyes. Not only was he forthright and generous, he was also so young, handsome, and talented. He was simply a diamond bachelor in the entertainment industry. It was estimated that he would be very popular in the future. Li Zhen didn't think that others wouldn't have a chance just because Lu Qin had a heavenly queen as his girlfriend, because this was Hong Kong. Of course, she knew that she definitely didn't have a chance. The gap was too big. Lu Qin didn't know that because of his words, the little secretary's mind had turned so many thoughts. He called Wan Xiaoquan and Qin Wenxiang to do all the things that should be done today. He called Wan Xiaoquan and Qin Wenxiang to do all the things that should be done today. There were 5 people in the MPV again. Qin Wenxiang was the one with the most complicated feelings in his heart. Qin Wenxiang's life experience was much richer and more bumpy than Li Zhen's. He was used to the fickleness of human nature and the fickleness of the world. He had already hardened his heart and wouldn't be easily moved by anything. Even so, Lu Qin's generosity and trust still made him feel that he had followed the right person this time. Qin Wenxiang wouldn't say any words of gratitude, nor would he show too much expression of being moved. He just remembered it in his heart and would naturally show it at work in the future. Led by Lu Qin himself, the group of people first went to the BMW flagship store in Hong Kong to book 2 cars, then went to the Armani main store to buy clothes, and finally went to the Commerce Department in Hong Kong to take photos and sign the documents, completing all the final registration procedures of the studio. At this point, Lu Qin Film and Television Studio officially settled in Hong Kong and had the legal qualification to operate. At the same time, Lu Qin also represented the studio and submitted an application for the local film and television support program to the Commerce Department. Once this application was approved, the movies and TV shows shot by the studio would not only receive tax incentives and government funding support, but also be broadcasted and screened in Hong Kong and the mainland through the Green Channel. This was the most fundamental reason why Lu Qin went south to Hong Kong and started his film career here. In fact, there were many mainland film companies investing in Hong Kong like him. In the foreseeable future, the Hong Kong film industry, which was about to become a pool of stagnant water, was bound to surge and there would be fierce competition. The black Mercedes-Benz business car steadily stopped in front of the Shangri-La Hotel. The door slid open silently, and a man wearing a dark gray Armani suit got out of the car and stood firmly on the red carpet. The surrounding corners immediately lit up with flashes. Lu Qin couldn't help but frown. He didn't expect that a charity dinner could actually attract so many paparazzi. The paparazzi in Hong Kong were famous. They were good at tracking and digging up the privacy of celebrities. They could be said to be the most troublesome existence for star artists. As long as there was a star artist, there was bound to be an active figure. Someone once said that the entertainment newspapers and magazines in Hong Kong were basically supported by paparazzi. Without their existence, Hong Kong's entertainment circle would be too lonely, and they were indispensable. It was also because of this kind of fearlessness that the Xiangjiang paparazzi were particularly bold and even arrogant. They even did not hesitate to cheat and deceive for the sake of news. It was also later that it caused public indignation in the entertainment circle and caused a strong counterattack. In recent years they had restrained themselves and did not dare to write and shoot unscrupulously. Even so, for Lu Qin the Xiangjiang paparazzi were the target that he had to guard against. They were much less moral than their domestic counterparts. Before coming to Hong Kong, Chen Fei had specially reminded Lu Qin about this. However, while Lu Qin was thinking about guarding against the paparazzi lying in ambush near the hotel were dumbfounded. "Hey, who is this guy? Why have I never seen him before?" Chapter 428. One Champion, Singing China. Two big selling albums, You Who Sat Next to Me, and The Ordinary Road. Two phenomenal TV series, Autumn in My Heart, and Full House of Romance. Lu Qin has only made his debut for more than a year, but with his strong strength and dazzling achievements, he has risen to fame in the domestic entertainment circle and has countless fans. If he doesn't wear sunglasses or disguise himself when he walks on the street, he will definitely be surrounded by people, and he has also encountered many situations where he has been surrounded by passers-by. But in Hong Kong, there are really few people who know and are familiar with him. These people definitely do not include the paparazzi squatting at the entrance of the Shangri-La Hotel at this moment. They are completely out of professional instinct to take pictures of every guest who attended the banquet tonight, hoping to get some useful information from them. However, Lu Qin, who has just been captured in the camera, is very strange to the paparazzi. A senior paparazzi would usually have a database in his head. The content of the database was the figures and appearances of the celebrities in Xiangjiang, as well as the celebrities in the business world. This way, as long as he found a target, he would be able to immediately identify them. Lu Qin is obviously not in this database. He looks very young, tall, big, handsome, and impeccable in appearance. He is definitely a first-class man, not like an ordinary person. A rich child who has returned from overseas? Was it a newly established company? The paparazzi in Hong Kong have never cared about mainland stars, because the people of Hong Kong only like to read the entertainment gossip and scandals of local artists, so they inevitably misunderstand the identity of Lu Qin. If he is a person in the entertainment circle as outstanding as Lu Qin, it is impossible for everyone not to know him. Because of the mystery, the paparazzi present have a little interest in Lu Qin. After all, the guests who are eligible to attend Shu Jing charity banquet in the evening are not ordinary people. There are 3 entrances and exits of the Shangri-La Hotel, and the middle passage connected to the red carpet and revolving door is reserved for the dinner guests. After showing his invitation to the doorman, Lu Qin and his assistant Li Zhen walked through the revolving door into the magnificent hall. 2 rows of flower baskets were neatly arranged on both sides of the staircase leading to the second floor of the hall. Lu Qin walked up the stairs and soon arrived at the banquet above. On the way upstairs, he suddenly felt a little uneasy, as if he had neglected something. But he couldn't remember. There were dozens of tables in the main banquet hall. The snow-white tablecloths were matched with delicate flowers and silver cutlery. There were already many guests seated before the banquet started. A band was playing on the stage. Lu Qin soon discovered that a beautiful lady in a purple evening dress was standing under a huge crystal chandelier. She was chatting and laughing with a few well-dressed gentlemen and ladies. She was clearly the focus of the entire hall. Shu Jing. Lu Qin had seen Shu Jing's photo before, and she was so dazzling so he could easily recognize her. After pondering for a moment, Lu Qin walked straight towards Shu Jing. Shu Jing's senses were very sensitive. As soon as Lu Qin walked over, her attention turned to him. Her limpid eyes fell on Lu Qin, and there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. But very quickly the doubt turned into joy. "Excuse me," she said to the person next to her, then turned to greet Lu Qin and asked, "Lu Qin?" Lu Qin nodded and said, "Hello, Sister Jing." Xu Jing was 37 years old this year, but she took good care of herself. She looked like she was in her early 30s. She had phoenix eyes and willow leaf eyebrows. Her facial features were outstanding, and her makeup was exquisite. She had a mature charm that young girls couldn't reach. In terms of appearance she couldn't compare to Qin Fei, but her graceful bearing had a unique charm. Her smile was like a spring breeze, making people unconsciously want to get close to her. "It really is you. I was wondering when you would come." Xu Jing took the initiative to extend her hand to Lu Qin. "Actually, I've long wanted to see what the man Fei chose is like." Lu Qin shook her hand and said with a smile, "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you." Xu Jing looked at Lu Qin carefully and said, "On the contrary, he's more outstanding than I thought. Fei's taste is always so good. It's really enviable." She joked half-jokingly and unknowingly narrowed the distance between them. "How does it feel to come to Xiangjiang for the first time?" Lu Qin said, "It's very beautiful, Sister Jing." As the two were chatting, a frivolous voice suddenly came from the side. "Who is this? You look very unfamiliar." Lu Qin turned his head and saw a young man in a white suit who interrupted. He looked to be in his 20s or 30s. He was not tall, and his hair was neatly combed and smeared with a lot of hair wax. It was glossy. Seeing Lu Qin's gaze, the man in the white suit gave him a disdainful look. There was a middle-aged man beside the man in the white suit with a smile on his face. He first nodded to Lu Qin in a friendly manner, but soon his attention was on Xu Jing. Xu Jing's eyebrows wrinkled slightly, and then immediately stretched out. She said with a smile, "Lu Qin, let me introduce you. This is Liang Jiaxing, the general manager of Xinqing Pictures. This is Liang Zhihao, the nephew of Mr. Liang." Xinqing Pictures? Lu Qin had never heard of it. It was definitely not one of the large film and television companies in Xiangjiang. However, since it was invited by Xu Jing, it must be powerful. Liang Jiaxing gave a good impression on the surface, unlike his nephew who had the words superficial and impetuous written on his face, but this made Lu Qin feel a little vigilant. This kind of person was best at hiding a dagger behind a smile. Keeping an appropriate distance was the best choice. He said calmly, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Liang." Lu Qin directly ignored Liang Zhihao, which made the latter so angry that his nose became crooked. Xu Jing introduced him again. "This is Lu Qin who just came from the mainland. He is my good friend's boyfriend." Liang Jiaxing laughed and said, "You really look talented." He shook hands with Lu Qin and asked casually, "Are you going to develop your career in Xiangjiang, Mr. Lu? I can help you introduce some useful friends." Lu Qin smiled faintly and said, "Thank you, Mr. Liang. I will definitely ask you for help if I need it." In fact, it was nonsense. As the saying goes, one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Lu Qin's intuition told him that Mr. Liang had some kind of ambition for Xu Jing. His nephew was just a tool for him to use. He jumped out probably because Xu Jing had a good chat with him just now. "Do I look like a gigolo?" Lu Qin was speechless in his heart. As a result, the tool jumped out again and asked loudly, "You're from the mainland. What did you bring for Sister Jing tonight?" Lu Qin couldn't help but frown. He knew the reason why he was uneasy just now. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."